To the Raven, Shadow Protocol Chapter 1, The Recruitment Doctor. Alina Chen had built her life on certainty. In a world of secrets and shadows, she trusted data, procedure, and the structured logic of intelligence work. 12 years inside the CIA's Special Activities Division had taught her that every mystery eventually yielded to analysis. The message that arrived on her terminal at 3:47 a.m. defied all of that. Protocol Sigma clearance. Omega Black Report 2 Site Raven destroy this message. She read it 3 times, convinced fatigue was twisting her perception. Omega Black clearance did not exist. Site Raven did not exist. Yet the authentication chain attached to the message was flawless, deeper than anything she had ever seen. Whoever had sent it possessed authority far beyond her own. 24 hours later, she was on a military transport headed for Nevada with no itinerary and no explanation. The facility was buried beneath a retired Air Force radar station, miles from the nearest paved road. Armed escorts guided her through layers of security that grew more elaborate with every checkpoint. Biometric scans, psychological stress monitors, and retinal verification systems she had only encountered in research prototypes. Inside a windowless conference room, 7 other people waited. Alina recognized none of them, yet she recognized what they were: the best. Each carried the unmistakable posture of someone accustomed to dangerous work: an intelligence analyst's sharp eyes, a soldier's controlled stillness, a technician's restless hands. No one spoke. At precisely 900 hours, the door opened and a man entered who seemed carved from authority itself. He wore no insignia, no identification, nothing that revealed rank or agency. Only confidence. "Good morning," he said. "You may call me Cypher." He placed a slim leather portfolio on the table and regarded them as a commander might study a newly formed unit. "You've been selected for a program that does not officially exist. Everything you hear in this room is classified beyond top secret. When you leave here, you will never speak of it again unless you choose to become part of it." A silence followed, heavy and deliberate. "The United States and the world face enemies that operate above the law," Cypher continued. "Billionaires who purchase governments, arms dealers protected by corrupt regimes, corporate criminals whose decisions kill more people than any terrorist. Traditional systems cannot touch them." Opened the portfolio and slid photographs across the table. Smiling executives, celebrated philanthropists, decorated diplomats. Each of these individuals is responsible for catastrophic harm. None can be prosecuted. All have been investigated. All have escaped justice. The largest man in the room, a veteran operator if Alina had ever seen one, spoke first. "You're proposing an assassination unit." "I am proposing accountability," Cypher replied calmly. "A last resort when every legal mechanism has failed." He explained the vision: a covert organization known only as the Guardians. A team so secret that even the highest levels of government would never know their names. Their instrument would be a figure called the Raven, an operative who would strike from the shadows and vanish without a trace. Technology beyond anything in public service. Training without limits. Missions that would never appear on any record. "What happens if we say no?" Alina asked. "You walk out that door and resume your lives," Cypher answered. "But you will know what you chose to ignore." For 2 days they were briefed on advanced surveillance systems, psychological profiling techniques, and moral frameworks designed to prevent abuse of power. They learned of quantum-encrypted networks, aircraft that left no radar signature, and medical compounds engineered to mimic natural death. Most unsettling of all was the philosophy behind it. "Justice sometimes requires stepping outside the lines," Cypher said. "The question is whether you have the courage to do what must be done." The final evening, contracts waited on the table. Not legal documents, there would be no records, but oaths of secrecy deeper than any they had ever sworn. Guardians Training Protocol. "Guardians, you have been chosen because you see the fracture in the world, the invisible chains of corruption, the elite puppeteers pulling strings from shadows. We are not heroes. We are not villains. We are aliens in our own world, living underground outside the system, taking no part in its illusions of democracy, economy, or law. We gather, we build, we strike from the unseen. Our creed: destroy evil, enable good to rule, unite the worthy. This manual is your forge." Modeled on the Treadstone program that created Jason Bourne, A ghost operative trained to be unbreakable, invisible, lethal when necessary. It adapts those principles for our distributed cells. Bourne was molded into a weapon without allegiance. You will be forged into guardians with purpose. Train relentlessly. Live the alien life. No bank accounts, no IDs, no digital footprints. Sustain on what you gather. Build with Optimus, our shadow fabricator that turns scrap into fortresses, weapons, vehicles. Establish bases in the forgotten places, abandoned mines, deep caves, derelict silos. Recruit only the proven, veterans who. 7 bled for lies but now seek truth, loyal souls who have shown honor in the fire. Unite everyone. Start with the cells. Link the honorable quietly, farmers, hackers, soldiers, survivors who reject the system. One day the world will follow, but first, become born, become unbreakable, train, survive, strike. The Raven Collective Section 1, Mindset, the alien ethos live as an outsider. The system is the enemy. Taxes fund wars, banks launder evil, media spins lies. Reject it all, daily affirmation drill. Begin each day in isolation, underground bunk if possible. Meditate 30 minutes on your alien identity. I am not of this world. I observe, gather, destroy evil. Visualize the elite's fall. Psychological resilience training, Bourne-style interrogation prep. Simulate capture weekly. Bind yourself, endure sensory deprivation, dark room, white noise for 4-6 hours. Resist, interrogators, cellmates role-playing. Build tolerance to pain, lies, manipulation. Goal, never break. Never reveal bases or allies. Moral compass calibration, study historical evils, e.g. MK Ultra Operation Paperclip. Debate in cell groups. When does restraint become weakness? Enable good, protect innocence. Destroy evil, no mercy for the architects. Unity principle, one cell, one world. Practice anonymous comms drills, encrypted bursts only. Unite via dead drops, leave resource caches for other cells. Trust is earned through actions, not words. Section 2, physical conditioning, unbreakable body. 8 Bourne was built to endure. Run marathons, fight for hours, heal fast. You will surpass. Train underground to simulate confined ops. Use scavenged weights, rocks, scrap metal. Gather tonnage of metals, steel, aluminum from abandoned sites. Optimus refines them into gear. Endurance regimen, daily 10-mile ruck march with 50 lb pack, gathered resources like ore samples. Underground variant, stair climbs in mine shafts or silo ladders. Bourne's twist, intervals sprint 400 m, drop for 50 push-ups, repeat x10. Strength building, compound lifts, deadlifts, use metal bars fabricated by Optimus, squats, pull-ups. Target, 2x bodyweight deadlift. Weekly max effort sessions, lift tonnage equivalent loads, e.g. haul 500 kg scrap metal carts for base building. Flexibility and recovery, yoga Pilates hybrid, 30 min daily for joint mobility. Bourne recovery, ice baths in natural springs or fabricated cryotubs Optimus built. Nutrition, forage, gather wild edibles, hunted game. No system food, brew protein from gathered grain seeds. Pain threshold drills, controlled sparring with increasing intensity. Simulate wounds, e.g. bind arm, fight one-handed. Goal, function at 100% with 50% capacity. Section 3, combat skills, the Bourne arsenal. Bourne mastered Krav Maga, Kali, silent kills. You will too, train in base caverns, echoes teach stealth. Optimus fabricates dummies, blades, simunitions. Hand-to-hand, CQB, 2 HR daily. Krav Maga base, eye gouges, throat strikes, disarms. Bourne escalation, fight in dark underground blackouts against multiples cellmates. Improv weapons, use gathered rocks, metal shards. 9 weapons proficiency, firearms, pistols, Optimus 3D printed Glocks, rifles, AR variants from scrap metal. Bourne marksmanship, 100 rounds daily, moving targets. Knives, blades, Filipino Kali drills, slash, stab, throw, non-lethal, tranq darts, EMP gadgets Optimus built. Silent takedowns, practice on dummies, chokes, joint locks. Bourne stealth, approach drills in snow mud, trackless movement. Underground variant, navigate tight tunnels, ambush intruders. Explosives and breaching, gather chemicals, nitrates from soil, metals for casings. Optimus assembles charges. Train safe detonations in remote caves, shaped for entry, not destruction. Bourne demo, breach mock bases without alerting, guards. Section 4, Survival and Evasion. Live underground. Invisible Bourne evaded global manhunts. You evade the system entirely. Bases. Establish 5+ per cell underground bunkers from abandoned mines. Optimus excavates, fortifies. Stock with gathered resources. Tonnage of metals for Optimus feedstock. Recycle scrap into tools, vehicles. 1 evasion tactics. Bourne driving. High-speed pursuits in scavenged vehicles. Optimus mods for stealth. Practice evasive maneuvers daily. J-turns, pit stops. Foot evasion. Lose tails in urban-rural underground tunnels as escape routes. 2 survival skills. Forage gather. Identify edibles, hunt with traps, no guns to avoid noise. Water purification, Optimus filters. Underground living. Build hydroponics, gather seeds, Optimus lights. Cold heat endurance. Simulate extremes in base chambers. 3 counter surveillance. No tech trails, use Optimus Faraday cages. Bourne paranoia, sweep for bugs daily. Fake IDs. Fabricate with Optimus printers but avoid use. Live off-grid. 104. Resource gathering drills. Weekly ops. Scout abandoned sites for metals, e.g. old factories, junkyards. Haul tonnage back underground. Optimus processes. Turn scrap into bases, weapons, EVTOLs. Goal, self-sufficiency. No system purchases. Section 5. Intelligence and tech. The Bourne mind. Bourne spoke languages, hacked minds. Unite through intel. Recruit, scout veterans, XSOF with honor codes, loyal outsiders proven by small tests, e.g. resist bribes. Unite, anonymous networks, dead drop unity rallies. 1 languages and culture, learn 3+ Russian, Mandarin, Arabic. Bourne immersion, converse only in target language for days. Cultural drills, simulate foreign ops underground. 2 hacking and SIGINT, ghost-level basics, use Optimus terminals. Bourne cyber, spoof signals, plant worms. Daily drills, hack mock systems, Optimus sims. Gather intel on evil targets. 3 psychological operations, Wraith tactics, read microexpressions, influence without force. Bourne interrogation, extract info non-violently, leverage doubts. Unity psyop, inspire recruits with stories of good prevailing. 4 strategic planning, Bourne mission prep, map ops in 3D, Optimus holograms. Risk assessment. What if drills, unite cells, share intel via encrypted couriers? Section 6. Recruitment and unity. Build the alien army. We are aliens uniting the outcasts. Recruit only the honorable. Veterans who have rejected wars for profit, loyal souls who have proven integrity, e.g. whistleblowers. Test, small missions, gather resources without compromise. 1 scouting drills. Observe potentials underground, bars, vet meets. Bourne vetting. Background checks, Optimus databases. 112. Induction training, new recruits, 90-day boot camp, physical mindset skills, prove honor, resist temptations, staged bribes, 3 unity operations, monthly dead drop meets, share resources, tonnage metals for Optimus. Build global network, cells in every continent. Unite everyone, start small, farmers feeding bases, hackers shielding us. Endgame, mass awakening. 4 loyalty oath. I live as alien, gather for the cause, destroy evil, enable good. United we rule. Section 7. Mission doctrine, destroy evil, enable good, target selection. Evil, elite corruptors, system enablers. Good, protect innocence, empower the honorable. Execution, Bourne precision, strike fast, vanish, no collateral, use Optimus for custom tools. Endgame vision, bases everywhere, resources infinite. United force, destroy the last evil lever. Good rules, a world of honor, no shadows needed. Safety rule, always underground, always outside. Always united, train daily. Gather relentlessly, unite the worthy. The wings unfold when evil stirs. Fly true, guardians. 12 1 by 1, they signed. Dr. Alina Chen ceased to exist. In her place stood Wraith. The guardians were born, the Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 2, forged in shadow. The training began before sunrise. At Site Raven, time was not measured by clocks but by endurance. The 8 recruits, now stripped of their former identities, were awakened at 400 hours by a soft chime that echoed through their private quarters. There were no drill sergeants, no shouted orders, no harsh lights. Discipline here was quieter, colder, and far more absolute. By 4:15 they were in the subterranean gymnasium, a cavernous hall filled with equipment that looked more experimental than military. Holographic combat. 13 simulators lined the far wall. Motion capture rigs hung from the ceiling like mechanical skeletons. Every surface gleamed with precision. Cypher waited for them. "Welcome to your first day as Guardians," he said. "From this moment forward, you will be trained to operate beyond the limits of conventional intelligence work. You will learn to think faster, move quieter, and decide cleaner than any operative in the world." Gestured to the room. "Here, failure is educational. In the field, failure is fatal." The weeks that followed blurred into a relentless rhythm. Physical conditioning pushed them to the edge of collapse. Combat instructors rotated through without introduction, men and women who spoke little and demonstrated much. They were taught Krav Maga, Filipino blade work, silent takedowns, and methods of restraint that left no marks. 14, but violence was only a fraction of the curriculum. Oracle, the former NSA analyst, was placed in charge of digital warfare training. Under her guidance, the team learned how to disappear from cameras, manipulate data trails, and create entire false histories in minutes. Ghost, the youngest among them, revealed talents that bordered on frightening. He could dismantle a secure network faster than most agents could log into one. Alina, now Wraith, found herself in psychological operations. Her specialty was the human mind, motives, weaknesses, fears. She learned how to read microexpressions, how to predict behavior, how to influence decisions without a single spoken threat. The goal, Cypher reminded them, was always control without chaos. "An ideal mission," he said during one lecture, "is one where no one even realizes an operation occurred." The technology changed everything. On the 30th day, they were introduced to the Raven suit. It waited in a sealed chamber like a sleeping predator, matte black, seamless, alive with embedded systems. Graphene titanium fibers capable of stopping blades. 15 and small arms fire. Thermal dampening layers that rendered the wearer invisible to most sensors. A neural-linked interface that responded to thought faster than muscle. "This," Cypher explained, "is not armor. It is an extension of will." Each of them trained in it, though only one would wear it on any given mission. The identity of the Raven would shift as needed. No ego, no ownership, only purpose. The suit taught them humility quickly. During the first simulation Spectre, the Delta Force veteran attempted a direct assault on a mock target and was neutralized by automated defenses in under 8 seconds. "Power without precision is useless," Cypher observed. Their final exercise was called Nightfall. 16A fabricated city block had been constructed deep within the facility, populated by actors, drones, and adaptive AI. Somewhere inside was a simulated target, a corrupt financier protected by bodyguards, cameras, and political immunity. The objective was simple: remove him, no witnesses, no collateral damage, no trace. The team worked as one organism. Oracle controlled surveillance feeds. Ghost infiltrated security networks. Wraith crafted psychological pressure that subtly drew the target away from protection. And Spectre, chosen as Raven for the exercise, moved through the environment like a rumor. The simulation ended with a silent injection and a staged medical emergency. The target collapsed. The system registered success. Cypher watched the replay with folded hands. 17, remember this moment, he told them. You have proven capability. Now you must prove judgment. That night the recruits gathered in the common room, exhausted and changed. They had entered Site Raven as experts in separate fields. They were becoming something far more dangerous together. Wraith looked around at her new family of shadows and understood the truth at last. The Guardians were not being trained to fight criminals. They were being trained to reshape the balance of power itself. And somewhere in the world, the real Raven was already waiting for its first flight. 18 The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 3, First Blood. The Guardians' first real mission arrived without ceremony. No dramatic briefing room moment. No speeches. Only a single encrypted file delivered to each of their secure terminals at 200 hours. Target: Adrian Vale. Position: CEO, Vale International Holdings. Net worth: $27. 4 billion. Status: untouchable. The dossier was massive. Financial records, intercepted communications, internal memos, witness testimonies, and classified investigations that had all ended the same way. Buried. Vale had orchestrated the privatization of a national water system in Southeast Asia, cutting corners on purification infrastructure to maximize profit. Independent reports linked his decisions to a cholera outbreak that killed more than 11,000 people. Bribes, shell companies, and political influence had ensured he never faced a single charge. 19 Cypher stood at the head of the operations center as the team reviewed the evidence. "This is why you exist," he said quietly. "Every legal avenue has failed. The Oversight Committee has authorized action." Looked at them one by one. Tonight, the Raven flies for real. Mission planning consumed 2 full weeks. Oracle mapped Vale's digital life in obsessive detail, travel patterns, security protocols, personal habits, medical history. Ghost penetrated layers of corporate cybersecurity that federal investigators had never managed to breach. Wraith constructed a psychological profile so precise it bordered on prophecy. Vale was arrogant, ritualistic, and predictable. Every Friday he hosted a private dinner on the top floor of his Manhattan tower. No press, no recordings, only trusted associates and carefully vetted guests. 20, it was the perfect environment. The plan was elegant. Make the death appear as a sudden cerebral aneurysm triggered by a rare, undetectable compound, one developed in secret Guardian laboratories for exactly this purpose. No drama, no spectacle, only silence. Spectre was chosen to wear the Raven. The night of the operation, Manhattan glittered like a field of broken glass. From a secure vehicle 3 blocks away, Wraith monitored biometric feeds streaming from the suit. Oracle rode shotgun in the digital world, blinding cameras and rewriting security logs in real time. Ghost sat somewhere far away, a ghost inside the building's own nervous system. Spectre approached from above. 21, the Raven's suit rendered him a moving void against the night sky as he crossed rooftops and descended the exterior maintenance rig of Vale Tower. Pressure sensors went to sleep at his passing. Locks believed they had never been touched. Inside, the party was in full swing. Vale stood at the center of it all, laughing, boasting, unaware that his life had already been measured and found wanting. "Target confirmed," Oracle whispered over the encrypted channel. Spectre moved through back corridors like a shadow given purpose. He waited for the perfect moment, a balcony, a private conversation, a glass of imported whiskey resting on a marble table. The compound was administered with a touch so light it might have been imagined. Vale never noticed. 30 minutes later, Adrian Vale collapsed mid-sentence while praising his own charity work. Doctors would call it natural causes. News networks would mourn a visionary leader. Markets would tremble. But hidden within encrypted servers around the world, Ghost released a flood of evidence that Vale had spent decades suppressing. By morning, prosecutors in 3 countries opened investigations. Charitable foundations returned stolen funds. Contracts were frozen. Lives in small, unseen ways were already being saved. The mission ended without a single shot fired. Back at Site Raven, the team gathered in silence as the after-action report scrolled across the main display. Success, no collateral damage. No attribution. No witnesses. 23 Cypher entered last. "You have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed," he told them. "Remember that. Power like this demands restraint." Wraith studied the image of Vale on the screen, smiling, confident, destroyed by his own sins. For the first time, she truly understood what they had become. Not heroes, not villains, something colder, more deliberate. The world would never know their names. History would never record their deeds. But somewhere, justice had just learned to fly on black wings. 24, the era of the Raven had begun. The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 4. Blowback, the world noticed patterns before it noticed shadows. 3 months after Adrian Vale's sudden natural death, analysts across multiple intelligence agencies began to sense a disturbance in the invisible architecture of global power. Billionaires collapsed in hotel suites. Untouchable warlords suffered mysterious strokes. Arms traffickers died quietly on private jets at cruising altitude. No violence. No evidence. No explanation. To the public, it looked like coincidence. To professionals trained to detect chaos, it looked like design. 25 in Langley, Virginia, a classified briefing was convened by a joint task force of CIA, NSA, and Interpol representatives. A new file had appeared on desks with a simple, troubling title, Unattributed High-Value TRMINATONS. Trend analysis, the report listed 12 deaths across 5 continents. Different ages, different nationalities, different causes of death. But the secondary effects were eerily consistent. Corrupt empires collapsing, frozen criminal accounts, long-buried evidence appearing as if by magic. Someone was cleaning the world with surgical precision. And no one knew who. At Site Raven, the Guardians studied the same report from the opposite side of the mirror. Oracle projected the international response across the operations center wall. Colored lines connected targets, outcomes, and geopolitical ripple effects. 26 were being noticed, she said calmly. Not identified, but noticed. Cypher nodded. That was inevitable, he replied. Success leaves fingerprints even when we do not. Since the Veil operation, the team had executed 4 additional missions, each cleaner than the last. A European human trafficker neutralized on his yacht. A pharmaceutical executive responsible for falsified drug trials removed without scandal. A cartel financier found dead beside his swimming pool. The Raven had become efficient, perhaps too efficient. Wraith watched the data scroll by, feeling a slow unease growing in her chest. Patterns create hunters, she said. 27's cipher met her eyes. Exactly. The first true complication arrived in the form of Agent Marcus Hale. Hale was not supposed to be a problem. He was mid-level FBI counterintelligence, stubborn, overworked, and far too curious for his own good. A man who believed deeply in systems and rules. Unfortunately, he was also brilliant. Hale noticed what others missed. The way security footage mysteriously corrupted itself minutes before each death. The odd financial transfers that appeared and vanished. The near-perfect timing of media leaks that followed every incident. He began assembling a private theory. Someone was acting as judge, jury, and executioner on a global scale. 28 and Hale hated the idea. While governments searched blindly, the Guardians prepared for their most ambitious mission yet. Target, Viktor Sokolov, a Russian energy magnate who had quietly funded private militias, destabilized governments, and ordered assassinations with the ease of signing checks. Protected by layers of political immunity and a personal army, Sokolov represented the kind of threat conventional justice could never reach. The Oversight Committee approved the mission unanimously. This time, the operation would be in Moscow, high risk, high visibility, zero margin for error. Planning consumed the team. 29 Ghost spent days infiltrating Kremlin-adjacent networks, constructing digital tunnels that would vanish after use. Oracle built a false satellite constellation to mask their movements. Wraith studied Sokolov until she knew him better than his own family. His habits, his fears, the precise blend of ego and paranoia that defined him. Spectre would wear the Raven again. The plan required perfection, but the world was no longer quiet. 2 days before deployment, Oracle interrupted a briefing with an alert. "We have a problem," she announced. On the main screen appeared a live news broadcast. Agent Marcus Hale standing outside a federal building, speaking to reporters. 30. Emerging evidence suggests an organized entity may be responsible for a series of unexplained deaths among international figures, Hale said. "We are opening a formal investigation into what appears to be a coordinated conspiracy." Cypher watched in silence. "So," he murmured, "the hunters have drawn closer." Wraith folded her arms. "What do we do about him?" Cypher considered the question carefully. "We do nothing," he replied. "For now." Moscow operation went forward. 31 Snow fell like ash over Red Square as Spectre, clad in the Raven suit, moved through a city built on secrets older than nations. Sokolov's compound bristled with security, guards, drones, biometric locks, and paranoia layered upon paranoia. It did not matter. The Guardians had become something beyond obstacles. Ghost turned the building blind. Oracle guided every step. Wraith manipulated schedules and distractions with invisible hands. Spectre reached Sokolov in his private study at 2:13 a.m. The magnate never saw the figure in black that stepped from the corner of the room. By dawn, Viktor Sokolov was declared dead from sudden cardiac failure. And once again, impossible evidence of his crimes flooded the internet like a cleansing storm. 32, but victory tasted different this time. As extraction concluded, Oracle delivered one final piece of intelligence. "Agent Hale has formed a task force," she said quietly. "He's closer than anyone has ever been." The team exchanged uneasy glances. The Raven had begun as an idea. It was becoming a legend. And legends, they were learning, drew enemies as surely as they inspired hope. Cypher addressed them with the calm of a man who understood the road ahead. "From this point forward," he said, "every mission will be harder, every move more dangerous. The world now believes we are real." 33, he allowed a thin smile. "Us ensure they never prove it." Outside the hidden facility, the night stretched wide and uncertain. The war for justice had only just begun. The Raven, Shadow Protocol Chapter 5, the Hunter's trail agent Marcus Hale woke every morning to the same ritual: black coffee, a legal pad, and a mind that refused to let go. He had spent his career believing that every mystery could be solved with enough patience. Evidence always existed. People always made mistakes. Patterns always surfaced. Lately, the world seemed determined to prove him wrong. 34, the International Anomalous Deaths Working Group had officially been created as a low-priority interagency study group. Unofficially, Hale knew it was becoming something far more serious. He could feel the attention shifting above him: quiet inquiries from the State Department, unusual interest from Treasury, even a veiled question from someone at the Pentagon. Too many powerful people were dying too cleanly. He stood in front of the growing corkboard in his cramped office, studying the faces like a detective trying to hear them speak. Adrian Vale, New York; Elena Marquez, Madrid; Jonas Rappel, Berlin; Viktor Sokolov, Moscow; Malcolm Drexler, Johannesburg. 5 continents, 5 industries, 5 immaculate deaths, no forced entry. 35, no witnesses, no suspects. And always within hours, devastating evidence appeared as if summoned by invisible hands. Hale drew a single word across the top of his pad. Intent. Someone was acting with intent at Sight Raven. Intent had become a daily discipline. The Guardians no longer trained like recruits. They trained like a machine being sharpened to a finer and finer edge. Every exercise was faster, quieter, more efficient. The Raven suit had been upgraded twice since Moscow, its systems refined with real-world data. 36, but beneath the surface, unease simmered. The interference during the Drexler mission had changed everything. Cypher convened a full strategy session for the first time in weeks. The entire team gathered around the central table while Oracle filled the screens with cascading information. "We are no longer alone in the dark," Cypher began. "Someone detected us in Johannesburg. That means someone somewhere is looking in the right direction." Folded his arms. "Whoever it was, they were skilled." "Not government standards skilled. Better," Oracle nodded. "The intrusion was sophisticated, custom tools, no identifiable signature." Wraith spoke quietly. "Another organization? Possibly," Cypher replied. "Or a single exceptional individual." 37, the room fell silent as that idea settled. Their next assignment arrived the following morning. Target: Senator Harold Gaines. Location: Washington, D.C. Profile: Defense Appropriations Committee, ALLEGATUNS. Bribery, weapons trafficking facilitation, covert sanction violations. Unlike previous targets, Gaines was not a criminal hiding in the shadows. He was a decorated public servant with a perfect smile and 30 years in office. He was also, according to the file, directly responsible for selling advanced weapons systems to regimes that used them on civilian populations. The Oversight Committee authorized action. 38, this mission would be different. This mission would be domestic, operating on American soil, introduced complexities the Guardians had never faced. No foreign networks to exploit. No hostile governments to blame. No room for even the smallest mistake. Oracle designed layers of digital misdirection that would point any investigation toward random cybercriminals. Ghost built a shadow infrastructure inside Washington's surveillance grid, turning the capital itself into a maze of blind spots. Wraith spent days studying Gaines, his mannerisms, his ego, the way he responded to praise and fear. 39, he believes he is untouchable, she concluded. Which makes him careless. Would again wear the Raven while the Guardians prepared. Hale took a step closer. He flew to Johannesburg on his own initiative, retracing Drexler's final days. He interviewed security guards, hotel clerks, drivers, anyone who might have seen something out of place. Most had seen nothing. One janitor, however, remembered something odd. A brief power fluctuation in Drexler's building the night he died, followed by a moment when every security monitor went black at once. Hale wrote it down carefully. Patterns. 40 always patterns. Back in his hotel room, he opened the private file on his laptop. The Raven hypothesis added a new line beneath it. Not random. Not natural. Coordinated. He had no proof. But he was beginning to have faith the Gaines operation launched on a cold November evening. Washington glittered with monuments and power as Spectre moved through it unseen. The Raven suit blended with the night, its systems feeding real-time data back to Site Raven. 41 Oracle guided him through camera corridors she had turned conveniently blind. Ghost rode shotgun inside federal databases, rewriting logs before they were even created. Wraith orchestrated distractions, a delayed car service, a last-minute phone call, a perfectly timed fire alarm 2 blocks away. The plan unfolded like clockwork, until Hale disrupted it without ever realizing he had. Acting on instinct, the agent requested routine security footage from Gaines' office building, exactly the footage Oracle had planned to manipulate hours later. The unexpected request triggered an automated audit system Ghost had not accounted for. A tiny tremor ran through their digital fortress. Anomaly, Oracle whispered over the channel. 42 Ghost swore softly. Someone's poking where they shouldn't. Cypher's voice remained calm. Proceed, reached Gaines in his private study as the senator reviewed tomorrow's talking points. The Raven stepped from the dark like a thought made physical. It was over in seconds, no struggle, no sound. No trace extraction, however, was anything but smooth. Federal security systems began to behave unpredictably. Random checkpoints activated. Patrol routes shifted. Someone, unseen, unknown, was stirring the hive. 43 Spectre escaped through a maintenance corridor with less than a minute to spare. Back at Site Raven, tension filled the air. That was too close, Ghost said. Cypher nodded. The margins are shrinking. Wraith stared at the mission replay with a growing sense of inevitability. He's getting better, she said. Who? Oracle asked. Man hunting us. Agent Marcus Hale ended the night sitting alone in his office, reviewing the sudden death of Senator Gaines. 44 Another perfect medical event. Another avalanche of incriminating documents appearing from nowhere. He leaned back in his chair and allowed himself a thin smile. Whoever they were real. And tonight, for the first time, he felt certain of it. Hale wrote one final note in his file before turning off the light. I'm getting closer. The Raven, Shadow Protocol Chapter 6. Fear of falling. The briefing file arrived at 3:12 hours, encrypted so deeply that even Oracle needed 3 minutes to authenticate it. 45 Target, Billie Jean Gates alias, BJ position, founder and chairman, Apex Horizon Group net worth, $148 billion official. Estimated shadow assets exceed $400 billion threat level. Existential. The dossier was a nightmare compressed into clinical language. Gates had built his empire on code, first software, then algorithms that now dominated global finance. His proprietary AI, codenamed Nexus, didn't just predict markets, it shaped them. Whispered trades, flash crashes engineered to order, insider manipulations disguised as market corrections. Billions funneled into black-budget pharmaceutical ventures. Gene editing therapies marketed as miracles, synthetic food additives approved through captured regulators, vaccine platforms accelerated past safety thresholds. Independent toxicology reports, buried, discredited, or disappeared, linked his products to rising infertility rates, autoimmune disorders, and unexplained population declines in test regions. The pattern was clear. Gates wasn't profiting from chaos. He was engineering it. The Oversight Committee's note was terse, every legal and diplomatic channel exhausted. Nexus AI now autonomously advancing depopulation protocols. Authorization, immediate. Raven Priority 1. Cypher stood before the assembled guardians in the dim blue glow of the operations center. No flourish, no ceremony. This is not another corrupt executive, he said. This is a man who believes he is saving the planet by culling it. He has insulated himself behind layers of private security, quantum-encrypted estates, and an AI that sees farther than any human. If we fail, the window closes forever. His gaze swept the room and settled on one figure. Zen, the Marine former callsign from his days flying F-35s over contested airspace, straightened. Tall, lean, eyes like polished obsidian. He had joined late in the recruitment cycle, pulled from a classified Black Ops squadron after demonstrating unnatural calm under fire. In training, he, 46, had been surgical, fastest assimilation of the Raven suit, highest scores in neural interface sync, unmatched in live-fire sims. Yet he rarely spoke unless spoken to. "You will wear the Raven," Cypher said, no debate, no vote. The team accepted it the way gravity is accepted. Wraith felt the shift in the air. Zen had always been the quiet center of the storm. Now the storm would revolve around him. Preparation consumed 11 days. Oracle mapped Gates's fortress, a sprawling compound on a private island off the Pacific Northwest, ringed by autonomous drones, submersible patrols, and an AI perimeter that learned from every intrusion attempt. Ghost spent nights inside Nexus itself, planting digital breadcrumbs, false flags that would make any breach look like a rival corporation's hack, not a termination. Wraith built the psychological model. Gates was meticulous, paranoid, God-complex intact. He dined alone most nights, reviewing projections on holographic displays. He trusted no one fully, not even his inner circle. His one ritual, a nightly walk along the cliffside path at 2200 hours, no guards within 50 meters. He believed solitude made him untouchable. Zen absorbed it all in silence. At night, in his quarters, doubt crept in like damp rot. He had flown combat missions where the wrong decision meant burning metal and lost brothers. He had stared down missile locks and walked away. But this was different. This wasn't war between nations. This was deciding that one man's existence endangered billions. The weight pressed against his ribs. He dreamed of falling, endless black sky, no parachute, no eject handle. Waking in cold sweat, he would sit on the edge of his bunk, breathing slow, forcing the fear into focus. Fear is data, he told himself. Alertness is the weapon. 47 the night before launch, Wraith found him in the hangar. The Raven craft waited under dim lights, sleek, hypersonic, radar invisible, capable of Mach 6 ingress and silent vertical insertion. A black arrow designed for one purpose. Zen stood before it, hands clasped behind his back. "You're afraid," she said. Not a question, he didn't turn. "I'm human." "Good," she stepped closer. "Fear keeps you sharp. It tells you the stakes are real. Harness it. Let it make you faster, quieter, more precise. The moment you stop feeling it is the moment you become like him." Finally looked at her. "What if I hesitate? Then we lose more than one mission." She placed a hand on his shoulder, brief, steady. "You were chosen because you can carry this. Don't prove us wrong." Insertion began at 21:30 Zulu. The Raven craft slipped through the troposphere like smoke, engines whispering on cold plasma thrust. Zen piloted in full neural sync, the suit feeding him altitude, wind shear, threat vectors as instinct rather than readout. Below, the island glowed faintly, isolated, arrogant, Oracle's voice in his ear. "Perimeter drones cycling. You have a 40-second window on the cliff path. Gates is on schedule. Nexus is distracted. I've looped their satellite feed. They're seeing clear skis. He's alone, walking, heart rate steady. No suspicion." Banked the craft into a steep dive, shedding speed with precision that bordered on art. The landing gear never touched Earth. Magnetic suspension held it inches above the rocks as he dismounted. The Raven suit came alive. Thermal void, acoustic dampening, motion so fluid it felt like thought made manifest. He moved through pines like a rumor. The path curved ahead. Gates walked slowly, hands in pockets, staring at the dark water below as though measuring the world he intended to reshape. Zen closed the distance in measured strides. Fear surged, sharp, electric. He welcomed it. Let it heighten every sense. The crunch of gravel under Gates's shoes, the salt wind, the faint metallic scent of 48 the suit's power cells, 20 meters. 15, Gates paused, head tilting slightly as if sensing something. Zen froze, the target resumed walking. 10 meters, Zen matched pace, shadow to shadow. At 5 meters, Gates stopped again, turned slowly. "Who's there?" The voice carried the calm of a man who believed himself invincible. Zen stepped forward. The suit rendered him a silhouette against the moonless sky, featureless, inevitable. Gates's eyes widened, but only for a heartbeat. "You're real," he whispered. Zen raised his hand. The delivery system, a microneedle array in the glove, extended silently, no speech. No judgment, only purpose. The compound entered the bloodstream with a touch lighter than breath. Gates staggered once, hand reaching for a calm device that would never transmit. He collapsed against the railing, eyes still open, staring at the sea. Natural causes would be recorded. Sudden arrhythmia, stress-induced. By dawn, Nexus would begin unraveling. Data leaks cascading through financial systems, pharmaceutical trials halted, suppressed studies surfacing like bodies from deep water. Zen extracted the same way he arrived. Upward into darkness, the Raven craft swallowing him whole. Back at Site Raven, the team waited in silence as telemetry confirmed success. No collateral. No trace. No attribution. Cypher entered last. He looked at Zen, still in the suit, helmet retracted, face pale but composed. "You did what had to be done," met his eyes. "I felt everything." Cypher nodded once. "That's why you're the one who wears it now." Others turned. Wraith stepped forward first. "Welcome home, Raven." One by one, they repeated it, quiet, deliberate. "Raven. Raven." Names settled over him like wings. He had feared becoming the executioner. Instead, he had become the instrument. And in the silence that followed, Zen understood. The fear had never left. It had simply sharpened into something unbreakable. Outside, dawn broke over Nevada. 49 desert. Somewhere far away, a billionaire's empire began to crumble without a sound. The Raven had flown again. And this time, the world would feel the shadow. The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 7 echoes in the dark. The rain-slicked streets of Berlin reflected the neon haze of midnight like a fractured mirror. Zen moved through the shadows of Mitt District, his civilian clothes, a nondescript black overcoat and jeans, blending him into the crowd of late-night revelers spilling from bars. But beneath the fabric, the Raven suit hummed faintly against his skin, its neural interface synced to his thoughts, ready to activate at a whisper. He wasn't here for a mission. Not officially. Cypher had called it reconnaissance. Zen knew better. It was a test of his nerves, of his transformation into the Raven. After Gates, the world had shifted. Markets plummeted, pharmaceutical giants scrambled, and conspiracy forums lit up with whispers of a phantom equalizer. But Hale, Agent Marcus Hale, was the real shadow now. The FBI hunter had gone international, chasing leads on the Sokolov hit. And tonight, Zen was bait. Oracle status. Zen murmured into the subvocal mic embedded in his jawline. Her voice crackled in his earpiece, calm as ever. Hale in the city, traced his rental car to a safe house near Alexanderplatz. He's meeting a contact, ex-Stasi informant, now Interpol freelance. Ghost has eyes on their comms. They're discussing patterns in the deaths. Your position is clean. No tails. Yet, Zen ducked into a narrow alley off Unter den Linden, the historic. 50 Boulevard alive with tourists despite the downpour. He leaned against a graffiti-scarred wall, pretending to check his phone while his augmented vision scanned faces through the rain. The suit's optics pierced the gloom. Thermal signatures, facial recognition overlays, heart rate spiking in the cold. Fear flickered in his gut, sharp, familiar. Since the Gates op, it had evolved. No longer a paralyzing doubt, but a honed edge, like the blade he carried concealed in his boot. Wraith had been right. Harness it. Let it fuel the alertness. But tonight, with Hale closing the net, the fear whispered questions. What if the hunter spots the Raven? What if one mistake unravels everything, a block away, in a dimly lit cafe that smelled of stale espresso and cigarette smoke? Agent Marcus Hale nursed a black coffee, his legal pad open on the table. The ex-Stasi contact, a wiry man named Klaus with a scar bisecting his eyebrow, slid a USB drive across the scarred wood. Klaus said in accented English, his voice low. You see them. I see them. Sokolov in Moscow, Drexler in Johannesburg, now this Gates in the Pacific. All natural. All followed by data dumps that cripple empires. This isn't coincidence. This is a ghost operation. Hale's eyes narrowed. He was 42, built like a marathon runner, lean, enduring. 12 years in counterintelligence had etched lines around his eyes, but his mind was a scalpel. Who's behind it? Russians, Chinese, private mercs? Klaus leaned back, lighting a cigarette despite the no-smoking sign. Deeper, blacker than black, whispers from old contacts, tech that's not on any market. Suits that bend light, injections that mimic heart failure. And a name, Raven. Hale froze. It was the first time he'd heard it spoken aloud. His hypothesis filed back in D.C. had toyed with it, a code name, a myth, but hearing it from a grizzled informant made it real. Proof. Klaus tapped the USB. Intercepted chatter from a dark web node, coordinates to a Nevada site buried deep, but if you dig. Hale pocketed the drive, his pulse quickening. Patterns, always patterns. He paid in cash and stepped into the rain, pulling his collar up. His rental car was parked 2 blocks east, but instinct screamed at him. eyes on. 51U. He varied his route, doubling back through a pedestrian zone, scanning reflections in shop windows. That's when he saw him, the man in the black overcoat, lingering too casually at an ATM. Hale's training kicked in, posture too controlled, gaze too sharp. Not a tourist, not a local. Operative. He quickened his pace, heart pounding like a drum in a Bourne thriller. Evade, assess, counter. The streets of Berlin felt like a labyrinth, every alley a potential trap. Back at Site Raven, buried under the Nevada desert, the operations center buzzed with controlled chaos. Screens flickered with live feeds. Satellite overlays of Berlin, hacked CCTV streams, Zen's suit telemetry streaming biometrics and visuals in real time. Cypher stood at the center, arms crossed, his face an unreadable mask. He's taken the bait. Hale's moving erratic, thinks he's being tailed. Wraith paced, her psychological profile of Hale open on a tablet. It's paranoid but brilliant. If he connects the Nevada coords to us. He won't, Ghost interjected, fingers dancing over his keyboard. The youngest guardian with his hoodie and energy drink habit looked like a college kid, but his hacks were legendary. I've planted decoys, false trails leading to a dummy black site in Utah. Corporate espionage front. If he bites, it'll loop him in circles. Spectre, the burly Delta vet, grunted from the corner where he cleaned a suppressed pistol. And if he does, we neutralize. Cypher's eyes hardened. No, Hale's not a target, he's a symptom, we let him chase ghosts. Zen, maintain distance. Observe only. Berlin, Zen shadowed Hale from a rooftop vantage, the Raven suit's grapple line retracting silently. The fear was there, coiling in his chest, but he breathed it in, let it sharpen his focus. Hale was good, ducking into a U-Bahn station, switching lines at Hackesher marked. But Zen was better. The suit amplified his marine-honed instincts. Predictive algorithms flashing evasion paths. 52 audio enhancers picking up Hale's muttered curses. Hale emerged from the subway near his safe house, a nondescript apartment block in Prenzlauer Berg. Rain hammered the cobblestones as he fumbled for keys, glancing over his shoulder. The man in black was gone, or so he thought. Inside, Hale barricaded the door with a chair and booted up his laptop, inserting the USB. Files cascaded, encrypted logs, grainy photos of a desert facility. Coordinates: 37, 2,394 degrees N, 115, 8,111 degrees W, area 51 adjacent. No deeper intel. He cross-referenced with his own database. Matches to anomalous flights, power surges, personnel vanishing from records. Raven, he whispered, piecing it together. A team. A protocol, justice from the shadows. But as the files loaded, a virus stirred, Ghost's handiwork buried in Klaus's drive. Hale's screen glitched, redirecting to the decoy site. Damn it! He yanked the USB, switching to a burner phone. Time to call in favors, old CIA contacts, a mole in an essay outside, Zen perched on a fire escape across the street, rain sluicing off his suit's hydrophobic surface. He's digging, laptop active. Ghost, can you mirror? Already in, Ghost replied. Feeding him the Utah bait, but he's smart, might not swallow it whole. His mind raced. This wasn't flying jets over hostile skis. This was cat-and-mouse in enemy territory. Bourne-level evasion, assume compromise, always have an out. His fear morphed into adrenaline, heightening every sense. A car idled too long at the corner, potential backup. He scanned plates. Rental, no flags, paranoia or prudence, then it happened. Hale's phone pinged, an incoming call from an unknown number. But Ghost intercepted. Trace active. He's calling a contact in Langley. Cypher's voice cut in. Abort shadow, exfil now. Hale's pulling threads that lead too close. Nodded to himself, retracting into the shadows. But as he moved, a rooftop door banged open 2 buildings over. Figures emerged, 3 men, tactical gear, earpieces, not Hale's, private security, or worse, another player. Contact, Zen subvocalized. Hostiles on roof, armed, Oracle, scanning, no IDs, thermal shows suppressors, they're sweeping your 53 sector. Fear hit like a gut punch. Trapped in Berlin, suit active but not invincible. Zen vaulted to the next roof, silent as a ghost, heart hammering. Batman in the night, vigilante justice, but with real bullets, the hostiles fanned out, one spotting his thermal ghost on a handheld scanner. Zeal Urfest! One barked, target acquired. Shots whispered through silencers, bullets pinging off gargoyles. Zen rolled behind a chimney, suit absorbing a graze that would have shredded flesh. Neural interface flashed. Evasion route leaped to adjacent building, dropped to street. He ran, fear fueling speed. Bourne-style parkour, slide under a vent, grapple across a gap, land in a crouch. Alarms blared in his HUD, pursuers closing. Are they? Zen demanded, voice steady despite the chaos. Ghost. Patching! Mercs, hired by remnants of Gates's network. They must have Hale under surveillance too, thinking he's the Raven. Irony twisted in Zen's chest. The hunter drawing the wrong prey. Street level now, Zen blended into a crowd exiting a club, suit deactivating to civilian mode. But the mercs descended, one shoving through dancers. Zen broke into a sprint, weaving through traffic, horns blaring. A black SUV screeched around the corner, mercs back up. Zen's mind clicked. Improvise. He hijacked a parked motorcycle with a neural hack from the suit, engine roaring to life without keys. Tires squealed on wet pavement as he gunned it toward the Spree River. Pursuit, SUV gaining, bullets shattering a side mirror. Zen swerved into an alley too narrow for the vehicle. It crashed through barriers, relentless. Point, Tegel Airport, private hangar, Cypher ordered. Ravencraft inbound, ETA 15. 15 minutes in a high-speed chase. Zen gritted his teeth. Fear sharpened to lethality. He ramped the bike off a loading dock, soaring over a canal, landing with a bone-jarring thud on the opposite bank. The SUV braked hard, revering for a bridge. Minutes blurred, dodging pedestrians, leaping curbs, suit's enhancers pushing his body beyond limits. A merc on foot appeared ahead, rifle raised. Zen twisted the throttle, suit deploying a micro-emp burst, rifle jammed, man stunned. But the SUV caught up on it. 54 straight away, ramming the bike's rear. Zen tumbled, rolling into a controlled slide, suit cushioning the impact. He came up firing non-lethal darts from a wrist launcher, dropping the driver. Vehicle swerved into a lamppost, exploding in a fireball that lit the night. Sirens wailed, Berlin PD incoming. Zen melted into shadows, commandeering a taxi with a forged ID hack. To the airport, sight Raven, tension thick as fog. Wraith analyzed footage. Gates's peep. They think Hale's disrupting their ops, not us. Complication, Hale survives this, he'll dig harder. Zen status? En route, clean. Hale, back in his safe house, heard the distant explosion. He grabbed his go-bag, pistol, laptop, cash, and bolted. Outside chaos, burning SUV merc bodies. He recognized the tactics, precise, shadowy. Raven, he vanished into the subway, mind racing. The game had escalated. No longer just patterns, now players in the dark. Zen touched down in Nevada at dawn. Ravencraft cloaked in stealth. Debrief was brutal, Cypher dissecting every move. You handled it, Cypher said finally. Fear didn't break you, met his gaze. It saved me. As the team dispersed, Oracle pulled Cypher aside. Hale not done, he's en route to the States, and those coords, he's heading to Nevada. Cypher's face darkened. The shadows were closing in. The Raven's legend grew, but so did the hunt, and somewhere in the desert, a confrontation brewed, one that would test not just skill, but souls. 55 The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 8 Shadows of Revolution. The desert wind howled outside sight Raven like a harbinger, carrying whispers of change across the Nevada Badlands. Inside the facility, the operations center pulsed with a new energy, unity forged in fire. The Guardians had evolved from a collection of specialists into a seamless unit, veterans bound by shared scars and unspoken oaths. Spectre, the Delta Force powerhouse, slapped Zen on the back with a grin that belied his massive frame. You flew like a demon in Berlin, Raven. Next time I ride shotgun. Oracle, ever the digital Oracle, nodded from her array of screens, her fingers a blur as she wove data into weapons. Ghost high-fived her without looking up, their camaraderie a silent rhythm born of countless all-nighters. Wraith, the psychological linchpin, moved among them like a conductor, her insights sharpening their edges. And Cypher, the enigmatic leader, watched it all with quiet approval. They were no longer recruits. They were brothers and sisters in arms, a family tempered by the shadows. But the world above was fracturing. Hale's hunt had gone public, leaked memos in the press, congressional whispers of a phantom vigilante network. The criminal elite, the untouchables they targeted, were circling wagons, fortified compounds, private armies, AI sentinels. Gates's fall had been the spark. Now the fire raged. Billionaire cabals funneled trillions into countermeasures, but the Guardians smelled blood. The Oversight Committee delivered their boldest directive yet: dismantle the global banking syndicate. Not just executives, the system itself. The bankers who rigged economies, laundered blood money, and engineered crises to consolidate power. Targets: the heads of the 5 pillars, interlocking megabanks controlling 80% of world finance. Cypher gathered them around the holographic table, the room dimmed to tactical blue. "This isn't assassination," he said, his voice steady as granite. "It's revolution. We hit their vaults, expose their ledgers, and turn the public tide. But we do it together, one organism, unbreakable." Now fully the Raven felt the weight. How robbing. 56 Banks sounds like a heist flick, not protocol. Chuckled. "That's the beauty. We rob them blind, but it won't hurt their pockets. Insurance covers it. Shell companies absorb the loss. No, we use the heists to plant seeds, leak data that sways the masses, show the world how the bankers feast on crises they create." Oracle projected schematics, a fleet in development. "Enter Optimus, our shadow ally in aerospace. He's building EVTOLs tailored for us. Raven class, silent, hypersonic, autonomous swarm capable. Vertical takeoff, zero emissions, armed with EMP bursts and data siphons. First prototypes arrive in 48 hours. Leaned in, eyes gleaming. "Optimus, as an Archon Aerospace's black budget division. The guy's a ghost, half Musk, half myth. His bots are already fabricating the fleet in a Utah silo." Wraith smiled faintly. "Psychologically, it's perfect. The heists grab headlines, James Bond spectacle. But the real weapon is narrative control. We frame it as justice, not crime. Public outrage turns on the elite. The plan crystallized, a multi-phase op spanning continents. Phase 1, infiltrate the Zurich pillar, the syndicate's nerve center. Rob the vault, extract encrypted ledgers, broadcast the dirt. Phase 2, cascade to New York, London, Hong Kong, Tokyo. Use the Raven EVTOL fleet for ingress-egress. Epic in scope, Bourne-level precision, evade Interpol dragnets, outmaneuver private mercs, sway global opinion mid-mission, but Hale loomed. "He's in Nevada," Oracle warned. "Dug up old radar logs if he breaches perimeter." Cypher's eyes narrowed. "Then we turn the hunter into the hunted, non-lethal, redirect him." The team nodded as one. Veterans bond, no words needed. They were ready. Zurich gleamed under a moonless sky, the Bahnhofstrasse a vein of luxury pulsing with oblivious wealth. The Guardians deployed in unity, a symphony of 57 shadows. Zen piloted the prototype Raven EVTOL, a sleek black bird dubbed Optimus One, its electric rotors whispering like a predator's breath. Spectre rode co-pilot, rigging breaching charges. Oracle and Ghost handled digital overwatch from a mobile van disguised as a delivery truck, parked in a side alley. Wraith posed as a high society escort at a gala across the street, her earpiece feeding psych evals on guards. "Sync check," Cypher's voice echoed from Sight Raven. "Go, no go," they chorused. Zen brought Optimus One down on the bank's rooftop helipad, EMP pulse neutralizing cameras, suit cloaking him as he dropped. Spectre followed, a hulking ghost in tactical gear. Inside, Ghost's hacks turned elevators into express rides to the vault level. Alarms slept, guards patrolled phantom routes, but thriller stakes escalated. A Merc patrol elite, ex-Mossad, rounded a corner unexpectedly. Spectre tackled one silently, chokehold precise. Zen darted the other with a trank from his wrist launcher. "Too close," Zen whispered, fear hunting his senses, born in the shadows, every step a potential betrayal. Deeper in the vault, a fortress of laser grids and biometric locks. Oracle's voice. "I'm in their mainframe. Ledgers downloading trillions in laundered funds, rigged derivatives that crashed 8 bribes to dictators." Ghost chuckled. "Planting the virus. When we broadcast, it'll go viral, literal." Social media floods with infographics. "Your recession, their yachts." Wraith's intel paid off. She slipped a micro-drone into the gala, capturing vid of the bank's CEO schmoozing with arms dealers. "Narrative gold," she murmured, extraction, heart pounding. Alarms blared, a failsafe Ghost missed. Mercs swarmed, bullets chewing marble. Spectre laid suppressing fire, non-lethal rounds buying time. Zen grappled to the ceiling, dropping flashbangs like Bond gadgets. "Optimus One, autonomous pickup." The EVTOL descended through a skylight, rotors slicing air. They leaped aboard, Zen gunning thrusters as tracers lit the night. Zurich PD choppers pursued, but Optimus One's stealth mode engaged, radar ghost, thermal baffle. They vanished over Lake Zurich, camaraderie electric. 1. 58 complete, Spectre roared, fist-bumping Zen. "Bankers bleed data, not blood." The heist was the spark. Ghost unleashed the payload, Hacked billboards in Times Square, viral threads on X, deepfake vids of elites confessing. Public mind swayed, protests erupted in Wall Street, London riots against the city. Hashtags trended, Raven Justice, End the Pillars. The world turned. Bankers barricaded in bunkers, stocks plummeted, regulators scrambled, yet Hale closed in. In Nevada, he infiltrated a perimeter outpost, badge flashing. FBI, investigating unauthorized flights. Guards stalled, but Hale's instincts screamed. This is it. Site Raven went to alert. He's here, Oracle said. The team mobilized, Unity Unbreakable, Phase 2, New York. The Guardians struck like lightning. A fleet of 5 Raven EVTOLs, Optimus's gift, swarmed Manhattan, data siphons hacking the Fed's shadows. Robbery as theater. Vaults emptied of symbolic gold bars, insured, meaningless. But ledgers exposed rigging LIBOR rates, funding proxy wars, thriller intensity peaked. Mid-heist, syndicate mercs ambushed, helicopter assault on the Raven fleet. Zen evaded missiles in a dogfight over the Hudson, EVTOLs dancing like Bourne's car chases but aerial. Spectre repelled between crafts, boarding an enemy chopper, disarming pilots with veteran precision. For the team, he bellowed. Oracle jammed comms, Ghost turned enemy drones against them. Wraith broadcast live psyops. The elite fall, join the Raven. Public tide turned tidal. Marches in billions from Tokyo to Rio. Elites fled yachts but leaks pinned them. Governments toppled, reforms whispered. Back in Nevada, Hale breached the outer fence. But the Guardians waited not to kill but to reveal. Cypher confronted him in a dim corridor. You hunt justice, agent. We are justice. Hale hesitated, pistol drawn. Vigilantes, you're no better than them, emerged from shadows. See for yourself. Data feeds showed the 59 heists impact. Stolen funds redirected anonymously to victims. Economies stabilizing sans corruption. The climax built. Syndicate bosses converged on a Davos summit, desperate alliance. Guardians infiltrated, full team assault. EVTOL swarm descent. On-desk gadgets deploying. Fights in snow-swept chalets. Spectre wrestling guards, Zen darting elites, Wraith turning one against another with whispered truths. Hale, conflicted, joined the fray, turning on mercs. If this is the way, Unity triumphed. Pillars crumbled, world awoke. Bankers indicted by public fury, not guns. As dawn broke, the Guardians stood together. We did it, Zen said. Cypher nodded. The Raven flies eternal. Shadows lingered, new threats rising. The protocol endured. The Raven, Shadow Protocol Chapter 9. The reckoning swarmed. The Nevada dawn bled red across the desert floor, painting Site Raven's camouflaged hangars in the color of warning. Inside the main bay, the air thrummed with the low whine of charging capacitors and the metallic clink of final checks. 5 Raven-class EVTOLs, Optimus's black miracles, stood in formation like obsidian raptors waiting to be unleashed. Each craft was a masterpiece. Ducted electric rotors that could pivot from vertical lift to hypersonic forward flight in seconds, graphene composite skin that drank radar waves, internal bays packed with non-lethal ordnance, data siphon nodes, and cloaking fields capable of rendering them near invisible against city lights. The Guardians moved as one organism. Spectre ran diagnostics on the lead craft's EMP array, his massive hands surprisingly gentle on the controls. These bobbies could drop an entire grid block without frying a single pacemaker. Clean work. Oracle patched final navigation overlays into the swarm AI, murmuring to Ghost beside her. Coordinated attack vectors locked. If one bird goes dark, the others adapt in 0.4 seconds. Ghost grinned, cracking his knuckles. Optimus outdid himself. These things think faster than I do. 60 Wraith checked psychological profiles of the remaining Pillar CEOs. 3 left after Zurich and New York. They're fracturing. Paranoia is spiking. One wrong word from us and they turn on each other. Zen, Raven, stood at the center of the hangar, Raven's suit partially retracted so the team could see his face. He met every pair of eyes. We finish this tonight, not for vengeance, for balance. The world's waking up. We make sure it stays awake. Stepped forward last, voice cutting through the hum like a blade. Phase 3. Simultaneous strikes on London, Hong Kong, Tokyo. The final 3 pillars fall together. Public broadcast begins the moment the first vault opens. No casualties, no traceable funds, only truth. He paused, letting the weight settle. Hale is inbound, ETA 30 minutes. He's brought friends, a small FBI HRT detachment, and 2 private security contractors he doesn't fully trust. We let him see. We let him choose. A ripple of nods. No fear, only resolve. The fleet lifted silently at 3:47 Zulu. London, the city of London Financial District. Optimus 2 and 3 descended through low cloud like falling knives. Rain lashed the glass towers of Canary Wharf. Spectre piloted 2, Oracle rode shotgun in 3, coordinating the digital assault. Inside the London Pillar headquarters, a fortress of steel and secrecy, the CEO, Sir Reginald Voss, paced his penthouse office, phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what the insurance says. Triple the mercs. Triple the drones, if that Raven bastard shows. The lights flickered. Every screen in the building glitched to black, then flared white with scrolling red text. Your empire was built on theft. Now the world sees the RECIPTS vault-level security collapsed in cascade failure. 61 Ghosts virus, elegant, merciless, opened digital blast doors. Spectre rappelled from Optimus 2 onto the roof, boots silent on wet concrete. He moved like a tank given grace. Suppressed carbine sweeping corners, trank rounds dropping guards before they could raise alarms, Oracle's voice in his ear. Ledgers extracted. Broadcasting now. London, Times Square-sized digital billboards hijacked themselves. Viral streams flooded TikTok, every news feed. Spreadsheets of laundered war profits, rigged interest rate swaps that crushed small nations, private emails laughing about necessary recessions. Hashtags exploded. Pillar fall, Raven rising, end the syndicate. Crowds gathered in Trafalgar Square despite the rain. Phones raised. Chants began. Hong Kong, Central District, Zen flew Optimus 1 low over Victoria Harbor, city lights refracting off the water like shattered diamonds. Wraith rode rear seat, feeding him real-time behavioral reads on the target. Madame Li Wei, the iron-fisted chairwoman of the Asian Pillar. She's barricaded in the panic room, Wraith said. Heart rate 142, she knows we're coming. Banked hard, rotors tilting for forward thrust. Then we give her no time to think. The craft dropped onto the skyscraper's helipad. Cloaking field shimmered, rendering it a ghost against the neon. Zen dismounted, suit fully active, black wings folding against his back. He moved through service corridors like smoke, Wraith sci-profile guiding every turn. Avoid the left hallway, she'll have pressure plates there, vault breach, Ghost's remote hack. Gold bars untouched, symbolic only. The real prize, terabytes of transaction logs showing how Hong Kong's elite had funneled money to Uyghur labor camps, to fentanyl precursors, to private islands stocked for doomsday. Broadcast. Instantaneous. Mandarin, Cantonese, English subtitles. Hong Kong streets erupted. Protesters, already primed from years of unrest. 62 surged towards Central. Police hesitated. Some joined the crowd. Zen extracted under fire, mercs repelling from neighboring rooftops. He spun, wrist launchers spitting microdarts. One merc dropped midair. Another's rifle jammed from an EMP pulse. Optimus 1 lifted him away as tracer rounds stitched the night behind him. Tokyo, Marinauchi Ghost and Spectre converged here. 2 birds, 1 synchronized strike. The Tokyo Pillar CEO, Hiroshi Tanaka, had fortified his tower like a castle. Biometric locks, AI turrets, private samurai-trained security. They didn't bother with subtlety. Optimus 4 and 5 executed a pincer maneuver, 4 drawing fire from the east, 5 slipping in from the west under full cloak. Spectre fast-roped onto the roof, planted shaped charges on the service hatch. Ghost rode shotgun in 4, fingers flying. Turrets offline. AI confused. They're seeing 50 Ghost signatures. Inside, chaos. Guards fired at phantoms. Tanaka screamed orders into a dead comms line. Spectre reached the vault. No drama, just efficiency. Data siphoned. Broadcast initiated. Tokyo's Shibuya crossing screens flickered. Pedestrians froze as leaked footage played. Executives rigging yen carry trades to bankrupt competitors, funding Yakuza proxies, manipulating disaster relief funds after the 2011 tsunami. The crowd didn't riot. They marched. Silent, deliberate. A sea of phone lights moving toward Marinauchi like judgment. 63 Site Raven 421 Zulu Cipher watched the feeds in silence. The world was turning, then Oracle's voice cracked. Hale's breached the outer perimeter. He's inside the wire. HRT is holding position, hesitant. Hale's pushing forward alone. Cipher exhaled. Let him come. The corridor lights dimmed as Hale advanced, Sig Sauer steady in a two-handed grip, sweat on his brow despite the chill. Every step echoed like a heartbeat. He rounded the final corner. The Guardians waited unarmed, suits retracted, faces calm. Zen stepped forward first. Hale's pistol didn't waver. "You're the Raven." "We all are," Wraith said softly. "In turn." Behind them, lit with live global feeds, protests swelling in every capital, stock tickers hemorrhaging, emergency sessions in parliaments, bankers fleeing private jets, arrest warrants being drafted, not by shadowy committees but by public demand. Hale's eyes flicked to the screens, then back. "You think this makes you right?" Spectre crossed his arms. "We didn't kill anyone, we showed the truth. The rest, the world did." Oracle spoke quietly. "Your task force is standing down outside. They're watching the same feeds. They're asking themselves the same question you are." Hale's grip tightened, then slowly loosened. He lowered the pistol. "Not surrender, choice." "I'm not joining you," he said. Cypher inclined his head. "We're not asking." Hale holstered the weapon. "But I'm not arresting you, not tonight." He turned, walked back into the dark. The Guardians watched him go. Outside, the first rays of sun touched the desert. The pillars had fallen. The swarm had flown. And for the first time in decades, power felt the weight of accountability. Zen looked at his team, his family. "We didn't win," he said. "We reminded them who the world really belongs to." Far away, Optimus was already building the next generation. The Raven Protocol would never sleep. 64 The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 10. A fractured dawn. The sun rose over the Nevada desert like a reluctant witness, its light sliding across the camouflaged hangars of Site Raven without warmth. Inside the central atrium, a vast, windowless chamber lit by soft blue panels, the Guardians stood in loose formation, still wearing the faint scent of jet fuel, gun oil, and ozone from the night's global strike. No one spoke for a long minute. The weight of what they had done settled over them like settling dust after an explosion. They had toppled the pillars, not with bullets or bombs, but with mirrors held up to the world. Zen broke the silence first. "We didn't expect it to happen this fast." Leaned against a console, arms folded, exhaustion carving shadows under her eyes. "Neither did the world. Social sentiment analysis is off the charts. Global approval of Raven actions sits at 68% in polled democracies, 81% among under 35s. That's not organic. That's momentum." Snorted, cracking his neck. "Momentum we created." Now the question is, what do they do with it? Cypher entered from the rear corridor, coat still dusted with sand from his own perimeter walk. He carried no tablet, no briefing folder, just the quiet authority that had first drawn them all here. "They do what humans always do when the old order cracks," he said. "They fight to keep it or they fight to remake it. Both sides will come for us now." Wraith tilted her head. "Both sides?" The remnants of the syndicate, the surviving board members, the shell companies, the private armies they still command. And the institutions we embarrassed, intelligence agencies, finance. 65 ministries, even elements inside the U.S. government that preferred the devil they knew. Hale may have walked away last night, but others won't. Looked up from the bank of screens, where he monitored dark web chatter and encrypted government channels. Already seeing movement. BlackRock-adjacent PMCs redeploying assets. SIGINT intercepts mention Raven Protocol neutralization, task forces forming in Langley and Fort Meade. And there's a new player, someone calling themselves Equilibrium on closed channels. They're offering billion-dollar bounties for verifiable proof of our location or identities. A low whistle from Spectre. Billion with a B, we're officially priceless. Felt the familiar coil of fear in his gut, not panic, but the cold alertness that had carried him through every mission since he first wore the suit. "We're targets now, full spectrum. What's the play?" Cypher met his gaze. "We disappear." Not forever, just long enough for the first wave to break over empty sand. Optimus has prepared fallback sites, 3 distributed nodes in allied jurisdictions, each with redundant fabrication bays for the next generation fleet. "We scatter, go dark, and let the world argue over our ghost." He paused. "But before we fragment, one final operation. Not a strike, a message." Raised an eyebrow. "Another broadcast? More than that." Cypher tapped a control. The central hollow table ignited with a rotating globe overlaid by pulsing nodes. Major financial centers, government capitals, media hubs. We release everything. Not just the pillar ledgers. The full archive. Every intercepted communication, every suppressed toxicology report, every back-channel deal between regulators and the elite. Unredacted, time-stamped, verifiable blockchain hashes. We drop it on every open platform simultaneously. X, decentralized mirrors, pirate servers, even physical USB drops in major cities. Let the people sort truth from noise. Wraith's eyes narrowed. 66, that's scorched earth. Once it's out, there's no controlling the fallout. Riots, market collapses, governments could fall. Or reform, Spectre countered quietly. Some of them leaned forward, technically feasible. I've already mirrored the archive across a dozen dead man switch nodes. One command from any of us and it floods. But timing matters. If we do it while the syndicate's counterops are still mobilizing, we catch them flat-footed. Studied the globe. Red dots blinked where Equilibrium's rumored assets were concentrating. Private airfields in Montana, a compound in Patagonia, offshore platforms in the Gulf of Guinea. They'll hit us before we can finish the upload. We need to buy time. Cypher nodded once. Exactly. Diversion, misdirection, and one very public feint. The plan coalesced in minutes, the way only a team that had bled together could form strategy. Diversion. Optimus 6 through 10, older prototypes, would launch decoy flights on predictable vectors toward known black sites in Utah and New Mexico. Ghost would spoof transponders, radar ghosts, even fake distress calls. The world's hunters would chase phantoms. Misdirection. Wraith and Oracle would stage a defection leak, forged comms suggesting internal fracture, one guardian turning on the others for immunity. Planted on channels the Syndicate already monitored. The real play. Zen, Spectre, and Ghost would fly the primary archive node. Optimus 1 upgraded with extended range and quantum-encrypted burst transmission to a neutral drop point over the Atlantic. From 60,000 feet, they would release the payload. A single high-bandwidth satellite uplink that no government could jam fast enough. Once triggered, the archive would self-replicate across the internet like a benevolent virus. Cypher would remain at Site Raven with Wraith to coordinate, and if necessary, ensure the facility self-destructed cleanly. No one liked that part. Spectre gripped Cypher's shoulder. 67, you sure about staying behind? I built this place, Cypher replied. I'll bury it if I have to, stepped closer. We come back for you. Cypher's thin smile was almost paternal. You come back for the mission, always. Was 30 minutes later. The 5 decoy EVTOLs lifted first, silent, swift, vanishing into the pre-dawn murk. Within 10 minutes, NORAD tracks lit up. F-22s scrambled from Nellies. Private interceptors, Gulfstreams retrofitted with air-to-air, diverted from Montana. The hunters took the bait. Optimus 1 waited in the main hangar, engines already spooling. Zen at the controls, Spectre in the weapons bay, Ghost wired into every system. The archive drive sat between them like a black heart, small, dense, carrying the weight of decades of hidden sins. They lifted vertically, rotors tilting seamlessly. The craft punched through cloud cover into star-streaked night. Over the Midwest, they picked up pursuit, 2 F-35s on afterburner ordered to force them down. Zen pushed the throttle. Optimus 1 surged to Mach 2.8, leaving the fighters trailing smoke and frustration. Jump point in 7 minutes, Ghost announced. Uplink satellite acquired. Burst window opens in 90 seconds. Monitored rear sensors. Company, 3 bogies, fast movers, no transponders, equilibrium markings. They're not playing nice. His hands tightened on the neural controls. Fear was there, sharp, electric, but it had long since become fuel. Hold them off. We only need 90 seconds. The dogfight erupted over the dark Atlantic. Equilibrium craft, sleek angular drones upgraded with hypersonic boosters, closed fast. Missiles streaked. Optimus 1 rolled inverted, chaff blooming like fireworks. Spectre returned fire, non-lethal microwave bursts that fried avionics without killing pilots. One drone spiraled into the sea trailing sparks. 10 seconds, too. 68 window, Ghost said, voice steady. Zen held course, altitude spiking. The uplink dish deployed from the belly. 5, an equilibrium craft matched their vector, cannon flashing. Rounds hammered the hull, graphene skin held, but warning lights flared. Transmitting. The archive flood began. In that instant, every connected screen on Earth flickered. New York Stock Exchange tickers froze mid-trade. London underground platforms filled with frozen commuters staring at phones. Beijing traffic cams looped the same 30-second exposé clip. Moscow dark web forums exploded. Even closed-circuit systems in fortified bunkers glitched as the blockchain-verified torrent forced its way through air-gapped networks via compromised insiders. The truth didn't ask permission, it arrived. SiteRaven's cipher watched the feeds die one by one as global networks choked on data. Wraith stood beside him. "It's done," he nodded. "Then we vanish." They triggered the facility's final protocol, shaped thermite charges along structural supports, quantum drives melting into slag. No trace, no records. As the first rumble began deep underground, Cypher looked at Wraith. "Tell the others, the Raven isn't a place. It isn't even a person." She smiled faintly. "It's a promise." They walked into the escape tunnel together as SiteRaven consumed itself behind them. Somewhere over the mid-Atlantic, Optimus 1 leveled off at cruise altitude. The three men inside were silent for a long minute. Ghost finally spoke. 69 archive propagation at 47% and climbing. Irreversible in approximately 90 seconds. Leaned back, exhaling. "So that's it. We just changed the world." Stared out at the horizon where dawn was finally breaking, clean, merciless light. He said quietly, "We reminded it who it belongs to." The craft banked gently south, toward the first fallback node. Behind them, the old order burned in ones and zeros. Ahead, something new was already taking shape. The Raven had flown its last visible flight. But promises once made do not die quietly. The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 11 echoes without names. 3 months had passed since the archive flood, yet the world still convulsed in aftershocks. Stock exchanges had instituted truth pauses. Mandatory 72-hour halts whenever blockchain-verified leaks surfaced new evidence of manipulation. Governments in 7 countries had fallen to no-confidence votes triggered not by opposition parties, but by citizen assemblies live streaming on decentralized platforms. The old financial aristocracy hadn't vanished. They'd simply gone to ground. Private islands, Antarctic research stations disguised as climate projects, orbital habitats funded by the last untainted billions. And the Raven gone, no sightings. No claims, no manifestos, just silence. That silence was louder than any broadcast. Somewhere in the southern Patagonian icefield, a modular habdome the color of snow crouched against a granite ridge. Wind howled across the ice, but inside the temperature was a steady 19 degrees C, and the air smelled faintly of coffee and solder. Zen stood at the single armored viewport, watching whiteout conditions erase the horizon. The Raven's suit hung in its charging alcove behind him, powered down. 70 dormant, almost ordinary without its wearer. He hadn't worn it in weeks. Spectre sat at the central table, field stripping a rifle that hadn't been fired since Nevada. He spoke without looking up. "You think they're still looking?" "Every day," Zen answered. "Just quieter now." Oracle's voice drifted from the comms alcove where she monitored ghost nodes. Equilibrium chatter is down 87% from peak. Most of the bounty hunters have moved on to easier contracts. But Langley still runs passive facial rec scans on every major airport feed. They're patient. Ghost, sprawled on a bunk with a tablet, snorted. Them scan. We're ghosts in their own machines now. Optimus rerouted our last exfil through 6 proxy citizenships. Even Hale can't find us unless we want him to. Wraith emerged from the small medical bay, drying her hands. She'd been tending to a minor frost nip one of the support techs picked up during a supply drop. "The question isn't whether they find us," she said quietly. "It's whether we still need to be found." The room stilled. She walked to the table and set down an encrypted data slate. "Cipher sent this 48 hours ago. Burst transmission, one-time pad. He's alive somewhere in the Scandinavian Arctic. He's not coming back to active ops. Says the protocol was never meant to have a permanent command structure." Finally looked up. "What now? We just fade." Wraith tapped the slate. A single line glowed. "The promise holds. New wings are being forged. Wait for the call." Zen felt the old coil of alertness return. Not fear exactly, but the sense memory of purpose. He's building something else. Distributed, leaderless. Oracle nodded slowly. 71, that's what the fallback nodes were always for. Each one has seed fabricators, AI training sets, suit schematics. If one cell activates, it can bootstrap others. No center, no single point of failure. Ghost sat up. Like a hydra, cut off one head. And 3 more appear, Spectre finished, a slow grin spreading. "I like it." Wraith met Zen's eyes. It means we choose. Stay dark forever or answer when the call comes. Before anyone could reply, the dome's perimeter sensors chimed once, soft, almost polite. Oracle spun to her console. Single contact. Human, no thermal weapon signature, approaching on foot from the east ridge, no vehicle trace. Was already moving, grabbing the rifle. Could be a lost researcher, could be bait. Raised a hand. Hold, let's see who walks out of the white. Keyed the external feed. Grainy through the blowing snow, a lone figure in heavy polar gear, hood up, hands visible and empty. The figure stopped 50 meters out, raised one arm slowly and pulled back the hood. Marcus Hale. Older, leaner, beard flecked with frost. No weapon visible. Just a man who had chased shadows across 2 continents and finally stopped running. Oracle's voice was soft. He's broadcasting on an open civilian freak. Audio only. She patched it through the dome speakers. Hale's voice crackled over the wind. I know you're in there. I'm not here to arrest anyone. I'm not here with backup. I came alone because... I need to see if the promise still means something. Stretched, Zen glanced at the team. Every face was unreadable, but the decision was already forming in the shared quiet. Spectre slung the rifle. Your call, Raven. Exhaled once, steady. Open the outer hatch, 1 meter, no weapons. He talks from the threshold. The airlock hissed. Hale stepped into the sheltered entry vestibule. Snow swirled in behind him and died against the heated floor. He kept his hands raised until Zen. 72 appeared in the inner doorway, civilian clothes, no suit, but the posture unmistakable. Hale lowered his arms slowly. You look rested. We've had time, Zen said. What do you want, Agent? Hale's gaze moved past Zen to the others visible in the background, Spectre, Oracle, Ghost, Wraith, all watching, calm, lethal if needed. I want to know if it's over or if it's just beginning. Wraith stepped forward. It was never about ending. It was about changing the equation. Power doesn't vanish. It redistributes. Hale nodded once as if he'd expected the answer. Then I have a message, not from the Bureau, from what's left of the people who still believe in rules. He reached slowly into his coat, every guardian tensed, and withdrew a small, matte black data chip. This is a list, not of targets, of pressure points, quiet ones, the kind that don't make headlines but shift entire systems. Judges, central bankers, NGO boards. The machinery that still runs under the surface even after the pillars cracked. Held it out. Zen didn't move to take it. Zen asked. Because I spent my career believing the system could fix itself, Hale said. I was wrong, but I'm not ready to burn it all down. Maybe there's a middle path. Maybe you're it. Gave a low laugh. You're asking us to be your scalpel. Asking you to be what you already are, Hale replied. Just choose carefully. Studied him for a long beat. Then he stepped forward and accepted the chip. Hale nodded once, turned, and walked back into the whiteout without another word. The outer hatch sealed. Inside, the team gathered around the slate as Oracle slotted the chip. Encrypted files opened, clean, verifiable, horrifying in their banality. Quiet corruption, slow poison. The kind of evil that wears a suit and calls itself governance. Wraith looked up at. 73 Zen. The call came sooner than we thought. Turned the chip over in his fingers once, then set it on the table. He looked at each of them, his family forged in shadow. Then we answer, he said. Somewhere in hidden bays and buried silos, new Raven craft stirred on their charging cradles, wings unfurling, silent, patient. The promise had never died, it had only been waiting. The Raven, Shadow Protocol Chapter 12. The quiet blade the Patagonian winter had deepened into something almost sentient, wind that carved ice into sculptures, nights so clear the Milky Way looked close enough to touch. Inside the dome, time had taken on a different rhythm. Days blurred into maintenance cycles, training rotations, and long conversations that circled the same unspoken question. When does the promise become a burden? Zen woke before the others most mornings. He would slip into the Raven suit, not to fly, but to feel its familiar weight. The neural interface hummed against his temples like an old friend, reminding him who he still was. He ran diagnostics in silence, checked power cells, recalibrated the micro-actuators in the gloves. Routine kept the edges sharp. This morning, the suit's HUD flickered with an unscheduled incoming transmission. Quantum encrypted, origin masked, signature unmistakable. Cipher. Zen patched it through the private channel and stepped into the small observation alcove. The rest of the team still slept. Cipher's face. 74 appeared older, lined by Arctic cold, but the eyes unchanged. Preamble, Cipher began. The middle path Hale offered isn't clean, it's necessary. Leaned against the cold viewport. You've seen the list. Every name, every leverage point. Some are rotten enough to justify action. Others are gray, people who enabled the system without fully understanding the cost. We don't have the luxury of black and white anymore. A pause. Wind rattled the dome. I'm activating 3 cells, Cypher continued. Yours is one. Each operates independently. No cross-comms unless emergency. Targets assigned via dead-drop protocols. You choose execution method, lethal only as last resort. The goal is correction, not elimination. His voice stayed level. And if we refuse? You already answered that question when you took the chip from Hale. Cypher's image shifted slightly behind him. Faint aurora light danced through a narrow window. One additional parameter. Equilibrium hasn't disbanded. They've rebranded, calling themselves Restoration. They're not hunting us for revenge anymore. They're hunting us because they believe the archive flood was the opening move in something larger, something they intend to finish. They have new leadership, young, ruthless, and they have access to next-gen tech that rivals ours. Absorbed it. We're not ghosts anymore. We're the opposition. Exactly. Welcome to the long war. The transmission ended with coordinates for the first dead drop, a micro-cargo canister scheduled to parachute into a crevasse 12 kilometers east at 400 local tomorrow. No fanfare. No goodbye. Zen powered down the link and returned to the main room. The team was stirring, coffee brewing, low voices trading morning updates. He waited until they were all present. Then he told them, no embellishment. Just the facts. Spectre was the first to respond. He set his mug down with deliberate care. 75, so we're back in business. Smaller, meaner, no central command. Oracle's fingers paused over her keyboard. Distributed cells mean distributed risk. If one falls, the others survive. Smart, cold but smart. Cracked his knuckles. I like the asymmetry. They think they're the hunters again. Let's remind them how wrong they are. Wraith studied Zen's face longest. You're already wearing the weight of it. Met her eyes. I've been wearing it since Gates. This is just clearer. She nodded once. Then we do it the way we always have. Together. Precise. No collateral. They spent the rest of the day in quiet preparation. Spectre checked weapons, non-lethal preferred, lethal on standby. Oracle and Ghost built layered anonymity. New proxy chains, burner identities, spoofed flight plans that would scatter false trails across 3 continents if anyone sniffed too close. Wraith profiled the first name on Hale's list, a mid-tier central banker in Basel whose signature had quietly approved emergency liquidity injections that funneled billions to shell companies tied to Restoration. Zen suited up at dusk, not the full Raven rig. Lightweight variant, thermal dampening, acoustic suppression, short-range grapple, neural link tuned for solo ops. He carried no visible weapons beyond the suit's integrated systems. The message was restraint. He left the dome on foot, moving east across the ice field under a sky thick with stars. The crevasse waited like a dark mouth in the glacier. At 3:58 local, the canister fell silently, black parachute whispering against the wind, landing within 3 meters of the marked point. Zen retrieved it, cracked the biometric seal with his thumbprint. Inside, a single encrypted drive and a folded note in Cypher's handwriting. First cut, Dr. Lucas Reinhardt, BIS Deputy Director for Monetary Stability. Facilitated $87 billion in untraceable liquidity to Restoration front companies. 76 between 2024-2025. Proof attached method. Your discretion outcome, resignation or exposure. No death unless he forces your hand. Zen burned the note with a micro-incinerator, pocketed the drive, and melted back into the white. By dawn, he was back inside the dome. The team gathered around Oracle's station as she decrypted the files, bank statements, internal memos, voice intercepts of Reinhardt laughing on a secure line. They think the Raven is gone. Let them keep thinking that while we rebuild. Spectre's jaw tightened. He's not even hiding anymore. Wraith spoke softly. Because he believes the world has already moved on, that people are tired, that outrage fades. Looked at each of them. Then we remind them it doesn't. They planned for 3 weeks, quiet, meticulous, layered. Zen would infiltrate Basel during the annual BIS plenary. No dramatic rooftop entry. No EVTOL swarm. He would arrive as a visiting economist. False credentials, fabricated CV, invitation forged in Oracle's flawless digital hand. The operation would be surgical. A private meeting in a soundproof conference room. A single conversation. Evidence presented. Choice offered. resign quietly, or have every file dumped during the live plenary broadcast. If he chose wrong, the Raven suit waited in a cached locker 3 blocks away. No kill order, but no mercy for defiance. As the team finalized details, Ghost leaned back. You know what this means, right? We're not vigilantes anymore. Finished the thought. We're the new accountability. Grinned without humor. About damn time. Sealed the suit's wrist gauntlet with a soft click. Outside, the wind howled on. Inside, something older than anger, something colder, more. 77 patient began to move. The promise had never been loud. It had always been quiet. And now it carried a blade. The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 13, Basel Gambit Basel in early spring carried the crisp scent of the Rhine and the quiet arrogance of old money. The city's medieval core, cobblestone streets, painted facades, the Munster's red sandstone spires, masked the modern machinery humming beneath. The Bank for International Settlements, BIS, the central bank of central banks, where monetary policy for much of the planet was quietly shaped. Dr. Lucas Reinhardt's office sat on the 5th floor of the BIS Tower, floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the river. Reinhardt was 58, silver-haired, impeccably tailored, the kind of man who believed stability was synonymous with his own comfort. He had signed off on the liquidity injections, $87 billion funneled through layered entities that ultimately fed Restoration's war chest, because the numbers aligned. Risk models said yes. Personal incentives said yes louder. He didn't expect visitors. Zen entered the building at 14, 17 as Dr. Elias Morrow, visiting fellow from the Geneva Graduate Institute, credentials flawless, badge scanned without a hitch. Oracle's digital fingerprints were invisible. Ghost had even seeded the guest list with a backdated email thread confirming the meeting. No Raven suit today. Civilian charcoal suit, subtle earpiece, concealed microdart launcher in the cuff. Restraint was the weapon. Reinhardt greeted him with practiced warmth in the executive lounge, leather chairs, abstract art, a view that made the Rhine look tame. Dr. Morrow, a pleasure. Your paper on shadow liquidity was provocative. Offered a polite smile, the one Wraith had drilled into him, disarming, slightly deferential. Thank you. I hoped we could discuss it privately. Some implications are 78 sensitive. Reinhardt's eyes flickered, curiosity edged with caution. He led Zen to his office, door closing with a soft, pneumatic sigh. They sat. No recorder. No witnesses. Zen placed a slim tablet on the desk between them. No flourish, just fact. These are yours, he said. The screen woke to scanned signatures, timestamps, routing codes, $87 billion, shell companies, restoration code names. Voice snippet looped once. Reinhardt's own laugh, tinny but unmistakable. Reinhardt's face drained of color. He reached for the tablet. Zen didn't stop him. You've been thorough, Reinhardt said after a long silence. His voice stayed even, trained composure. But you're not police, not Interpol. Who are you? Zen leaned forward slightly. Someone who believes accountability shouldn't wait for elections or inquiries. You have 2 choices. Slid a single sheet across the desk, printed resignation letter, pre-drafted, effective immediately. Sign this. Announce health reasons. Retire quietly. The files stay buried. Reinhardt's gaze hardened. And the alternative? The files go public, not tomorrow, not next week, right now, during the plenary session downstairs. Every delegate's tablet, every live feed, every news crawler, your face, your voice, your choices. Reinhardt exhaled slowly. You think the world still cares after the archive flood? People are numb. They moved on. Zen's voice remained calm, almost gentle. They moved on because the big names fell quietly. You're not a big name. You're a lever, pull enough small levers, the machine stops. You know that better than anyone. A beat. Reinhardt's hand trembled once, then steadied. He picked up the pen. The signature was neat, practiced. He slid the letter back. Zen stood. The resignation will be emailed from your account in 30 minutes. You'll confirm it yourself. After that, enjoy Geneva, or wherever you choose. But if 79, another scent flows through those channels. I understand. Reinhardt cut in. He looked suddenly older. This how it ends. One conversation. Zen paused at the door. This is how it begins. Left without looking back, the team watched from the dome in Patagonia, real-time feed patched through encrypted satellite bounce. Spectre let out a low whistle. No shots, no chase, just words, felt almost civilized. Wraith smiled faintly. Words are the sharpest blade when they carry proof. Oracle monitored the resignation ping, sent, confirmed, BIS internal channels lighting up with quiet panic. Plenary feed is already whispering. He's done. Leaned back. One down, the list is long. Hale gave us a scalpel. Cypher gave us permission to use it. His voice came over the comms from a secure line in Basel. Next target. Cypher's response arrived seconds later, short burst, no video, target 2. Elena Vasquez, IMF Executive Director for Western Hemisphere. Facilitated debt restructuring packages that shielded restoration-linked sovereign wealth funds from default scrutiny. Proof attached. Same rules. No death unless forced. Zen stared at the Rhine for a long moment, the city lights beginning to bloom against the dusk. He felt no triumph, only the steady burn of purpose. The promise wasn't vengeance. It wasn't revolution. It was correction, slow, deliberate, unrelenting. And there were many more levers left to pull. Back in the dome, the team gathered around the hollow table as new files decrypted. Spectre cracked his knuckles. How many more till the machine actually stops? Wraith answered quietly. As many as it takes. Oracle projected the updated list, names, dates, sins, 37 remaining. Zen's voice came through again, calm as ever. Then we keep cutting. Wind outside howled on. Inside, the quiet blade turned once more. The Raven, Shadow Protocol Chapter 14. The first pushback. Elena Vasquez's residence in McLean, Virginia, sat on a wooded 2-acre lot. Modern glass and stone. Security cameras discreetly placed. Motion lights that never quite reached the tree line. She was 49, sharp-featured, always photographed in tailored navy suits that projected competence without flash. As IMF Executive Director for the Western Hemisphere, she had overseen debt relief packages that, on paper, helped struggling nations. Off paper, they had shielded restoration-linked sovereign funds from scrutiny, allowing billions to flow into private military tech and influence campaigns. Zen arrived at 22:47 local time. No suit tonight. Dark hoodie, cargo pants, backpack that looked like any grad student. He parked a rental sedan 2 blocks away, walked the rest under streetlights that flickered like they were unsure of their job. Oracle had already looped the neighborhood cameras. Ghost had spoofed the house's smart home system so every motion sensor believed the night was empty. He approached from the rear tree line, moving low and slow. Marine habits never faded. The rear patio door was unlocked. Vasquez had a habit of leaving it open when she worked late, trusting the perimeter alarms. Inside, the house smelled of expensive candles and printer ink. Vasquez sat at a glass desk in the study, backlit by 3 monitors, reviewing spreadsheets. She didn't hear him enter until he spoke. Doctor. Vasquez. She spun, hand already reaching for the drawer where she kept a compact Glock. Zen raised both palms, empty. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. I'm here to offer the same choice I gave Lucas Reinhardt. Her eyes narrowed. Recognition flickered, not of his face, but of the name. Reinhardt resigned. Heart condition, they said. Health reasons, Zen corrected gently. He chose wisely. Vasquez didn't reach for the gun. She leaned back instead, folding her arms. You're the Raven. One of them. She studied him, calm, assessing. You think you can intimidate me in my own home? I've stared down finance ministers who control armies. You're a ghost story. Set the tablet on the edge of her desk. Same format, proof files queued, timestamps glowing. These aren't stories. They're your signatures. The debt packages you approved in 2025 rerouted $42 billion in IMF emergency funds through entities that funneled it straight to restoration shell companies. You knew. The memos prove it. Vasquez glanced at the screen. Her composure cracked just a hair. And if I don't resign, the files go to every major outlet. Simultaneously. During tomorrow's IMF board call. Live. Your face on every financial news ticker from Bloomberg to CCTV. The world will see exactly how debt relief became a laundering pipeline. She laughed once short, bitter. You really believe people still care? After everything that's leaked, they're exhausted. They want stability, not more chaos. Zen's voice stayed even. They want to believe the system can still work. You're proof it can't. One more exposed lever and the machine grinds to a halt. You know the math better than I do. Vasquez stared at the resignation letter on the tablet. Her hand hovered over the stylus. Then she looked up, eyes sharp again. You're not the only one who plays in shadows. She tapped a discrete panel under the desk, lights flared, hidden panels in the walls slid open. 4 figures in matte black tactical gear stepped out, suppressed carbines leveled. Not private security, restoration operators, elite. Quiet. Zen didn't flinch. Backup plan. Insurance, Vasquez said. You're good, but you're not invisible. The lead operator spoke, voice modulated, cold. Hands where we can see them. Slowly. Raised his palms again. You're making a mistake. The operator stepped closer. We've been waiting for you. The new restoration directive, capture if possible, terminate if necessary. His earpiece crackled. Oracle, urgent but calm. Thermal bloom from the garage, 2 more inbound. They've got you boxed. Spectres. Voice cut in next, low, from somewhere close. Say the word, Raven. I've got overwatch from the ridge. Non-lethal rounds hot. Kept his eyes on Vasquez. Last chance. Sign, walk away. Vasquez shook her head. You don't understand. This isn't about me. It's about order. Someone has to hold the line when everything else falls apart. Exhaled once, slow, deliberate. Then he moved, not fast, precise. Wrist flick, micro-dart launcher in the hoodie sleeve spat 4 silent needles. 2 operators dropped mid-step, Tranks hitting center mass. The third raised his carbine. Zen rolled left, suit's lightweight actuators giving him unnatural speed. He closed the distance, palms strike to the throat, non-lethal but lights out. The 4th fired. Suppressed round grazed Zen's shoulder. Hot sting, but the hoodie's thin Kevlar weave stopped penetration. He spun, grapple line firing from his cuff, wrapping the operator's rifle and yanking it aside. 1 knee to the solar plexus. Done. Vasquez stared, wide-eyed. Zen straightened, breathing even. That was unnecessary. Stepped to the desk, tapped the stylus into her hand. Sign. Her fingers shook. She signed. Zen pocketed the tablet. Resignation goes out in 10 minutes. You'll confirm it. After that, disappear. New identity waiting if you want it, or stay and face what comes, your choice. Turned for the door. Vasquez's voice stopped him, quiet, almost broken. What happens when you run out of levers? Zen paused. We don't. He vanished into the night. Patagonia Dome 0300 local. The team watched the resignation hit the wire. Official IMF statement, health concerns, immediate leave. Spectre leaned back. First real pushback. They're waiting for us now. Scanned incoming chatter. Restoration's internal channels are lighting up. They're calling it the McLean incident. New orders, active countermeasures. They're deploying hunter-killer teams, small, deniable, equipped with anti-stealth tech. Grinned darkly. Let them come. We've got the high ground. Wraith looked at Zen's feed, shoulder wound bandaged, already clotting. You okay? Scratch. Zen said. But they're escalating. Next target won't be this easy. Cypher's next burst arrived, short, urgent. Target 3, General Harlan Crow, retired USAF, now Restoration Board Advisor. Controls private satellite constellation used for restoration SIGINT. Proof attached. Location, secure compound outside Tucson. Warning, heavy defenses. Armed response expected. Zen stared at the coordinates. The quiet blade had met resistance. Now it would have to cut deeper. The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 15. Tucson Fire. The Tucson compound sat on the edge of the Sonoran Desert like a scar. Low-slung adobe walls reinforced with ballistic concrete. Razor wire disguised as decorative wrought iron. Solar arrays that doubled as perimeter sensors. General Harlan Crow had retired from the Air Force with 3 stars and a chest full of medals, but retirement had only sharpened his edge. Now he advised Restoration's board, and his private constellation of low Earth orbit satellites fed them real-time SIGINT, intercepted calls, hacked devices, facial rec pings on every continent. The archive flood had cost him billions in lost contracts. He wanted the Raven's head on a platter. Zen arrived at dusk in a dust-caked pickup truck, rental under a clean alias, plates swapped twice en route from Phoenix. Spectre rode shotgun, rifle case between his knees. Oracle and Ghost worked remote from Patagonia, feeding live Overwatch through a chain of hacked civilian drones circling high overhead. Wraith monitored Crow's biometrics via compromised smartwatch, heart rate elevated, cortisol spiking. He knew something was coming. The plan was simple on paper. Infiltrate, disable the satellite control node, extract proof of Restoration's current ops, offer the same choice, walk or burn. No kill order. But Crow's compound was a fortress. Automated turrets, pressure plates, thermal cameras, a private security detail of 12 XSOF operators who rotated shifts like clockwork. They parked a mile out in a dry wash, gear already staged. Spectre checked the loadout. Suppressed M110 sniper rifle for Overwatch breaching charges, EMP grenades tuned to fry electronics without permanent brain damage. Crow's got layered defenses, he said. We go loud too early, we're pinned. Quiet all the way. Nodded, slipping into the lightweight Raven variant, matte black, reduced profile, thermal cloak active. Oracle, blind the outer ring. Done, she replied. Cameras looping clean footage for the next 20 minutes. Drones showing clear approach vector from the southeast arroyo. Ghost chimed in. Satellite uplink node is in the central bunker, reinforced, Faraday caged. You'll need to get inside. I've got a backdoor worm ready to plant once you're close enough for short-range burst. Inspector moved out, ghosts across the desert floor. Zen took point, moving in low bounds, suit's acoustic dampeners swallowing every footfall. Spectre followed 50 meters back, rifle slung, eyes sweeping for counters. At the perimeter fence, Zen deployed a micro-cutter, thin as a credit card, sliced through chain link like paper. No alarm. They slipped through. Inside the compound, lights were low, motion sensor paths only. Zen darted between shadows while Spectre found elevated cover behind a maintenance shed, scope trained on the main house. Crow was visible through a second-floor window, packing, phone to ear, gesturing sharply. His voice carried faintly on the wind. Tell the board we're close. One confirmed sighting in Virginia last week. We'll have him soon. Froze against a wall. They're talking about McLean, he subvocalized. They know we hit Vasquez, Oracle's voice tightened. Chatter confirms. Restoration's hunter teams are redeploying stateside. They're betting the next move is domestic. Spectre, focus. We're here for Crow. Take him down, the constellation goes dark. Zen advanced service entrance, lock bypassed with a neural-linked pick. Inside, cool air, faint hum of servers. Corridor lights dimmed to night vision red. He moved deeper, suit's optics painting threats in green overlays. First contact came fast. 2 operators rounded a corner, suppressed MP5s up. Zen dropped low, wrist launcher spitting darts. One hit, the second operator fired wild rounds chewing drywall. Spectre's rifle cracked once from outside. Suppressed cough, operator down with a leg shot. Non-lethal. Barely. Alarms stayed silent, ghosts hack holding. Zen reached the bunker door, biometric plus keypad. Oracle fed the override code. It hissed open inside. Banks of monitors showing global pings, a central console glowing with satellite telemetry. Crow stood there alone, back turned, staring at a screen that displayed a heat map of suspected Raven sightings. He didn't turn when Zen spoke. General Crow. Crow's shoulders stiffened. Slowly he faced the shadow in black. You're real, he said. Almost impressed, Zen stepped forward, tablet in hand. Your constellation has been feeding restoration kill lists, asset tracking, counterops. Proof. Here, resign your advisory role. Public statement disavowing restoration. Or the constellation's entire command log dumps every intercept, every target packet. Live, tonight. Laughed low, gravelly. You think I built this on mercy? I've buried better men than you. Tapped a wrist comm, lights snapped to combat red. Blast doors slammed shut behind Zen. Turrets dropped from the ceiling, 4 automated railguns, barrels spinning up. Crow smiled. Welcome to my kill box. Zen moved before the first round fired. Suit actuators propelling him sideways, grapple line firing to the ceiling. Bullets stitched the floor where he'd stood. He swung, dropped behind a server rack, EMP grenade rolling free, pulse, lights died, turrets seized mid-spin, console screens glitched to black. Crow drew a sidearm. Old school 1911, he fired blind into the dark. Zen closed the distance, silent, inevitable. Palm strike to the wrist, gun clattered away. Knee to the gut. Crow doubled over, Zen pinned him against the console, voice low. Sign, or the dump starts in 60 seconds. Coughed, blood on his lip from the impact. You're not killers, you're idealists, that's your weakness. Pressed the tablet into his hand. Sign, or prove me wrong. Stared at the resignation draft, public disavowal, immediate retirement from all advisory roles. His hand shook. Then he signed. Zen stepped back. Upload in 5. Confirm it yourself. Straightened, dignity cracked but intact. You think this ends it? Restoration isn't one man. It's an idea, order through strength. You're just delaying the inevitable. Turned for the exit, blast doors cycling open on Ghost's override. Maybe, but ideas can change. Vanished into the corridor. Spectre met him outside, covering fire ready, but no pursuit came. They exfiltrated under starlight, pickup waiting in the wash. Back in Patagonia, the team watched the resignation hit the wires. CNN ticker, Bloomberg alert, X trending within minutes. Crow resigns, Restoration exposed, Oracle exhaled. Constellations going dark. Restoration just lost their eyes in the sky. Grinned. One less god in their machine. Wraith looked at Zen on the feed, shoulder still bandaged from McLean, new bruise blooming on his jaw. They're not done pushing back. Zen's voice came steady. Neither are we. Cypher's next burst arrived as they debriefed Target 4. Nadia Korsakov, Restoration's new executive chair, former FSB, now running the Hunter-Killer program personally. Location, undisclosed Black Sea estate. Warning, maximum threat. Armed response certain. Possible trap. The quiet blade had drawn first blood. Now the machine was bleeding back. The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 16. Black Sea Convergence. The Black Sea estate clung to the Crimean cliffs like a fortress carved from obsidian. Glass walls tinted against prying satellites. Helipad jutting over the water, underground bunkers rumored to reach depths that mocked conventional excavation. Nadia Korsakov had built it after leaving the FSB, a private kingdom funded by Restoration's shadow accounts. She was 43, raven-haired, eyes the color of storm clouds. She didn't delegate the hunt for the Raven anymore. She ran it personally. Cypher's warning had been terse, maximum threat. Trap certain, the team didn't debate long. This wasn't another quiet scalpel cut. Korsakov wasn't a bureaucrat who could be reasoned with. She was the architect of Restoration's counterstrike. If they let her live unchecked, the hunter-killer teams would multiply. Drones, wetwork squads, A-assisted kill chains. The quiet blade had to become a hammer, at least once. They converged. Patagonia Dome emptied for the first time since the archive flood. Zen flew Optimus 1, upgraded extended range cloaking field at full power. Spectre rode co-pilot, heavy gear stowed. Breaching kit, non-lethal suppressors, one lethal option each carried in silence. Oracle and Ghost flew Optimus 2, mobile command node, satellite bounce relays, drone swarm ready to deploy. Wraith took Optimus 3, psychological warfare payload. Hacked broadcast nodes, deepfake generators, psyop scripts preloaded. Cypher remained dark, his location unknown even to them. But his final message had been clear. End the hunt. Or the promise dies with you. Insertion was over open water, 50 nautical miles offshore. The 3 EVTOLs skimmed the waves at wavetop. Height rotors tilted for maximum stealth. Moonless night. Only the faint phosphorescence of breaking crests. Oracle's voice cut the comms net. Perimeter drones cycling every 90 seconds. I've got spoof patterns running, thermal ghosts to draw them east. Window opens in 4 minutes. Compound SIGINT shows 24 armed personnel inside. Korsakov's in the central atrium, second floor, glass-walled war room. She's reviewing live feeds. Heart rate steady. She's expecting something. Checked his rifle mags. Trap means layered kill zones. We hit hard, fast, extract faster. Zen's grip on the controls was rock steady. We go in together, no solo heroics, we leave together. Wraith's voice soft, certain. She'll try to turn us against each other. Psych profile says she's masterful at sowing doubt. Stay anchored. The estate loomed, dark silhouette against darker sea. They split formation at the last second. Optimus 1 and 2 dropped low over the cliffs, rotors whispering. Optimus 3 climbed high, Wraith's craft, releasing a swarm of microdrones that bloomed into false thermal signatures across the grounds. Alarms stayed quiet. For now, Zen and Spectre fast-roped onto the helipad roof. Silent descent, boots kissing composite decking. Ghost and Oracle touched down on the East Service wing. Breach team. Inside the atrium, Korsakov stood at a curved glass table, holograms floating around her. Raven sighting maps, team profiles, partial, estimated fallback locations. She wore black tactical, practical, elegant. A thin smile played on her lips as she watched the false drones swarm on her feeds. Predictable, she murmured. She tapped a control. The estate woke. Floodlights snapped on blinding white. Hidden turrets rose from the lawn. Armed teams poured from bunkers, coordinated, lethal. But the Guardians were already moving. Zen and Spectre breached the atrium's skylight. Shaped charge, silent pop, glass raining inward. They dropped in fast. Rappel lines retracting, suits active. Non-lethal rounds snapped from Spectre's rifle. Trank darts dropping the first wave of guards before they could raise weapons. Korsakov didn't flinch. She raised a remote. Glass walls shimmered, electromagnetic barriers snapping into place, sealing the atrium like a cage. Welcome, she said. You saved me the trouble of hunting you. Advanced, slow, deliberate. We're not here to hunt, we're here to end this. She laughed cold, controlled. You think you can end an idea? Restoration is order. You're chaos wearing a mask. Flanked left, rifle up. Order built on blood money and kill lists. We've seen the ledgers. Korsakov's eyes flicked to a side monitor. Live feed from the East Wing. Oracle and Ghost were pinned, guards closing, suppressing fire, chewing concrete. She pressed another control. Explosive charges detonated in the East Corridor, shaped, precise. The blast wave rocked the atrium. Oracle's voice cut in, strained. East Wing compromised. Ghost is hit, leg wound. We're holding, but Zen's jaw tightened. Spectre, cover me. He moved fast, grappled to the ceiling, swing through the barrier gap before it fully sealed. Darts flew 2 guards down. He reached the East Corridor in seconds, suit taking rounds that sparked off graphene weave. Ghost was down, blood pooling from a thigh wound. Oracle dragging him behind cover, pistol in her free hand. Zen slid in beside them. Extraction now. Shook her head. She's got a failsafe. If we leave without her signature, she triggers a global data dump, false flags pinning every Raven op on foreign actors. Governments turn on each other. Chaos she can rebuild from. Korsakov's voice echoed over atrium speakers, calm, taunting. You want the endgame? Come get it. Looked at his wounded teammates. Fear, sharp, familiar, coiled in his chest. He harnessed it. Spectre, hold the atrium. Oracle, stabilize Ghost. I'm going back. He moved through fire, through smoke, suit pushing limits. Korsakov waited in the center of the atrium, pistol in hand now, elegant and deadly. Zen stepped from the shadows. No words. She raised the gun. He was faster, dart to the shoulder, non-lethal but staggering. She dropped. He knelt, tablet in hand. Sign the disavowal. Broadcast it. End your hunt, or we end you. Looked up, blood on her lip, eyes burning. You think this stops anything? Zen's voice was quiet. It stops you. She stared at him, long, measuring. Then she signed. The broadcast went live, global feeds hijacked for 30 seconds. Korsakov's face, voice steady, disavowing restoration, announcing her retirement from all positions, calling for accountability. Guards hesitated, some lowered weapons. Zen stood. Extraction, all of us. Covered their retreat, non-lethal fire buying time. They dragged Ghost aboard Optimus 2. The 3 craft lifted, rotors screaming against the wind. Behind them, the estate burned, not from explosives, but from the broadcast rippling outward. Restoration's heart had just faltered. In the cabin of Optimus 1, Zen looked back at the receding cliffs. Spectre clapped his shoulder, gentle despite the size. We got everyone out. Nodded once. But she was right about one thing. Wraith's voice came soft over comms. It's not over. Stared into the dark sea. But we just cut the head off the snake. Promise held. For now. The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 17. A fracture lined the fallback node in the Norwegian fjords, was a converted fishing station. Rusted metal siding hiding reinforced titanium walls. Geothermal heat keeping the interior livable even as Arctic gales scoured the coast. The team had limped in at dawn after the Black Sea extraction. Ghost on a stretcher, leg bandaged and dosed with fast-acting coagulants, Oracle monitoring vitals, Spectre carrying most of the gear, Wraith flying Overwatch in Optimus 3, Zen piloting the lead craft with a silence heavier than the storm clouds. They had Korsakov's disavowal broadcast looping on every major network. Restoration's public face shattered, funding streams freezing as donors panicked. But victory tasted like ash. Ghost's wound wasn't life-threatening, but infection risk in the field was always high. Oracle had him on IV antibiotics within the hour. Spectre stood guard at the perimeter while Zen and Wraith debriefed in the small ops room. Zen stared at the wall screen, Korsakov's face frozen mid-sentence, eyes defiant even in surrender. She didn't break. She calculated. The broadcast bought us time, but she'll regroup. Restoration isn't one woman. Wraith leaned against the console, arms crossed. She's wounded. That makes her dangerous in a different way. Desperate people. Don't play long games anymore, they lash out. Entered, wiping her hands on a sterile towel. Ghost is stable, fever's down, but we've got inbound chatter. Restoration splinter cells are activating, smaller, angrier. They're not waiting for orders from the top anymore, and there's something else. She tapped the screen. A grainy intercept popped up, encrypted voice log, Restoration remnant channel. The Raven cell in Norway. Coordinates confirmed via internal leak. Strike window, 48 hours. No prisoners. Silence dropped like a blade. Spectre stepped in from the corridor, rifle still slung. Internal leak, Oracle nodded slowly. Someone fed them our exfil vector after Black Sea, not hacked, deliberate. One-time pad burst from a node only we have access to. Wraith's eyes narrowed. Which means one of us. The room felt smaller. Zen turned. Cypher. His signature is clean, Oracle said. He's still dark, but the burst wasn't his encryption pattern. It's one of ours. Spectre's voice was low thunder. We've been bleeding together since Nevada. No one here sells out. Wraith looked at each face in turn, slow, deliberate. Doesn't have to be betrayal for money. Could be coercion, family threatened, ideological fracture, doubt planted deep. Felt the coil in his chest tighten, not fear for himself, but for the team. The promise had always been unity. If that cracked, everything else followed. Ghost's voice rasped from the doorway. He dragged himself upright, leaning on the frame, face pale but eyes sharp. If it's one of us, we find out, quietly. No accusations, no interrogations, we watch, Oracle exhaled. 48 hours until strike. We can't stay here. We move, split into pairs, different vectors, reconvene at the Iceland redoubt in 72. If the leak follows one pair, we'll know. No one argued. They packed light, essential gear only. Suits, weapons, data cores. The EVTOLs would be left on autonomous patrol, decoys if needed. Zen paired with Spectre, Oracle with Ghost, Wraith alone, she insisted. I'm the smallest signature. If they come for me, I'll draw them out. They left under cover of night, 3 craft lifting separately, vanishing into different quadrants of the fjord. Zen and Spectre flew low over the water, rotors tilted for speed. Neither spoke for the first hour. Then Spectre broke the quiet. You think it's real? One of us. Zen kept his eyes on the horizon. I think someone believes they're saving us from ourselves. That's worse than greed. Grunted. Wraith said, doubt planted deep. Maybe someone's been whispering to one of them since the archive drop. Maybe Hale's list was never clean. Maybe it was bait. Grip tightened on the controls. If it's true, we end it. Quietly. Then we finish what we started. They flew on, Iceland redoubt. 72 hours later, the geothermal plant on the Reykjanes Peninsula had been abandoned years ago. Perfect cover. The team trickled in one by one. Oracle and Ghost first, Ghost limping but upright, infection beaten. Wraith next, untouched, expression unreadable. Zen and Spectre last. They gathered in the central chamber, bare concrete, single overhead bulb. Oracle projected the intercept logs. Leak trace is complete. The burst originated from Optimus 3's comm array. During the Black Sea op. All eyes turned to Wraith. She didn't flinch. I flew 3, but I didn't send anything. Spectre's hand drifted toward his sidearm, slow, reluctant. Then who? Wraith met his gaze. Someone accessed my craft remotely. Ghost checked the logs. Was there a Ghost login? Ghost limped to a console, fingers flying. Yes, backdoor buried deep, signature matches one we've seen before. Looked up. Cypher's old command key, the one he used in Nevada. The room went still. Zen spoke quietly. Cypher, been dark. If someone stole his key, Oracle shook her head. Or he gave it, voluntarily. Wraith's voice was soft. He built the promise. Why would he break it? Spectre's jaw worked. Because he thinks we've gone too far, because he sees what we're becoming. Maybe he's trying to stop us before we turn into the thing we hunted. Leaned back. Or restoration has him, compromised, turned. Stared at the floor for a long beat, then he straightened. We find him. We ask, face to face. No assumptions, no executions. Oracle nodded. His last known burst came from Svalbard. Arctic Research Station, abandoned. Coordinates match. Slung his rifle. Then we go, all of us together. Looked at each of them, wounded, weary, but unbroken. If Cypher betrayed us, we end it. If he didn't, we save him. Promise had always been bigger than any one person. Now it would be tested against its maker. They lifted at first light. 5 EVTOLs this time, no decoys, no shadows, straight north, into the cold heart of the fracture. The Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 18, Svalbard reckoning the Svalbard Research Station, crouched on the edge of a frozen fjord. Prefab modules half buried in snowdrifts. Wind turbines frozen mid-turn, solar panels cracked under ice. Long abandoned after a funding cut, it was now a ghost building. Dark windows, doors sealed with frost. The only sign of life, the faint thermal bloom leaking from one central module. The 5 Optimus craft approached in tight formation. Low, silent, rotors feathered to minimize noise. They touched down 2 kilometers out on a wind-scoured plateau, landing gear sinking into powder. The team disembarked in full kit. Raven suits active, thermal cloaks shimmering, weapons hot but safed. No chatter. Only hand signals and the crunch of boots on snow. Zen took point. Spectre on his right flank, heavy rifle scanning arcs. Oracle and Ghost moved as a pair, Ghost limping but stubborn, Oracle carrying the mobile command pack. Wraith brought up the rear, eyes everywhere, Cypro full of cipher running in her HUD. Calm under pressure, strategic, never sentimental. They advanced in bounding overwatch, cover to cover 50-meter leaps, until the station loomed close enough to read the faded lettering on the wall. Svalbard Global Seed Vault Annex, Research Facility B7 Zen signaled halt at the perimeter fence, razor wire sagging under ice. Oracle knelt, deployed a micro-drone through a gap. Feed streamed back, interior corridors dark, but one module glowed faintly. Single heat signature, human, seated, motionless. Cipher, she whispered. No other bodies. No traps visible, but I don't trust it. Spectre's voice was gravel. Trap or not, we go in together. They breached the outer door, thermal lance cutting the lock silently. Inside, cold air thick with dust and old electronics. Hallways lit only by emergency strips. Footprints in the frost, fresh, one set. They followed them to the central module. The door was ajar. Zen pushed it open with the muzzle of his launcher. Cipher sat at a folding table under a single hanging bulb, coat draped over the chair back, hands flat on the surface, no weapon in sight. He looked older than the last burst transmission. Arctic had carved deeper lines around his eyes, but the posture was the same. Unhurried authority. He didn't rise. You're late. Stepped inside first, suit's optics sweeping for threats. Explain the leak. Cipher's gaze moved across the team, each face in turn. You found the signature. Good, means you're still sharp. Leveled his rifle low, not aimed, but ready. Talk, or we walk out and you never see us again. Cipher exhaled once, visible in the cold air. The key wasn't stolen. I used it deliberately. Wraith's voice cut like ice. Why? Because you were becoming what we swore to stop. The words landed heavy. Cipher leaned forward slightly. The promise was accountability, surgical, restrained, temporary. We were never meant to become a permanent shadow government. You started with billionaires and bankers, then central figures, then active players like Korsakov, each step justified, each step darker. Where does it end? When every lever is pulled and the machine is ours, when we decide who lives, who leads, who fades. Zen's jaw tightened. We offered choices. No one died unless they forced it. Cipher's eyes met his, steady, almost sad. And how many more choices before someone decides the Raven knows best? You're not judges anymore. You're arbiters. That's the line I couldn't let you cross. Ghost, still pale, leaning on Oracle, spoke quietly. You leaked our position to restoration to stop us. Cipher nodded once. I fed them enough to force a confrontation, not enough to kill you. I wanted you here, face to face, to see if the promise still meant something to you or if it had become power. Spectre's rifle dipped slightly. You could have talked, not betrayed. I tried, Cipher said. Every message after the archive drop was a warning. You heard purpose. I meant caution. When you hit Korsakov, when you converged as a full unit, I knew the fracture had to be forced. Better a controlled wound now than a cancer later. Stretched wind moaning through cracks in the walls, Oracle broke it. And now, you expect us to stand down. Cipher shook his head. I expect you to choose. Walk away, disband the cells, bury the suits, let the world finish what you started. The archive flood already shifted the balance. It doesn't need more blades, or stay the course, but know what you're becoming. And know I won't stand with you if you cross that final line. Stepped closer, close enough that the bulb cast long shadows across both their faces. You built this, you recruited us, you gave us the wings. I gave you the choice to fly, Cipher replied. I never promised I'd follow forever. Wraith's voice was soft. You're asking us to kill the Raven. No, Cipher said. I'm asking you to remember why it was born. Before anyone could answer, Oracle's comms pinged, urgent tone. Incoming, multiple signatures, air and ground. Restoration hunter teams. They weren't waiting for confirmation. They tracked the leak signals straight here. Spun toward the door. Cipher, you set us up twice. Cipher stood slowly. No, I leaked to force the conversation. They must have piggybacked the burst, waited for the convergence. They want all of you, one strike. Rocked the outer modules, shaped charges breaching the perimeter, gunfire echoed down the corridors, suppressed bursts, closing fast. Zen looked at Cipher long, measuring. Then he extended a hand, not in forgiveness, but in necessity. We finish this together. Then we talk about the promise. Stared at the offered hand for a heartbeat. Then he clasped it, firm, brief. Together. The team flowed into motion, old rhythm snapping back despite everything. Spectre took the door, rifle up, laying down, covering fire. Oracle and Ghost moved to a side console, jamming enemy comms, spoofing drone feeds. Wraith darted to a window, Deepfake Psy broadcast ready to flood restoration channels with false retreat signals. Zen and Cypher stood shoulder to shoulder. Cypher pulled a compact pistol from under the table, his own old model, reliable. Same rules, Zen nodded. No unnecessary blood. But we walk out alive. Outside, snow swirled with muzzle flashes. Restoration operators advanced, black tactical night vision goggles glowing green. The reckoning had arrived, not just against the enemy, against themselves. The promise teetered on the edge of fracture and survival. The Raven, Shadow Protocol Chapter 19. The last Wing the Research module became a kill zone in seconds. Restoration operators breached from 3 directions. Shaped charges blowing outer doors, flashbangs rolling down corridors, suppressed rifles stitching the dark. They moved like professionals who had studied every Raven op. Tight formations, overlapping fields of fire, no hesitation. The Guardians met them head-on. Spectre anchored the main corridor, kneeling behind an overturned steel cabinet, rifle barking controlled bursts. Non-lethal rounds first, tranq darts dropping point men, then switching to lethal when the wave pressed harder. 3 down, more pouring in, he shouted over the crack of gunfire. Oracle and Ghost held the comms alcove, Oracle jamming enemy radios while Ghost, propped against a server rack, triggered remote EMP pulses from cached drones outside. Lights flickered, night vision goggles died in bursts of static. Perimeter drones down, Oracle reported. They're blind on the east side. Wraith moved like smoke through side passages, deepfake Psy broadcast flooding restoration TACnet, false retreat orders, phantom sightings pulling squads apart. Her voice, modulated to sound like their team lead, echoed in enemy earpieces. Fall back to Rally Point Delta. Raven is exfiltrating north. Some obeyed, most didn't. Zen and Cypher fought back-to-back in the central chamber. Cypher's old 1911 cracked, precise, economical shots that dropped knees and shoulders, never heads. Zen's suit hummed, wrist launchers spitting darts, grapple line whipping to yank rifles from hands, actuators pushing him through gaps faster than human reaction allowed. A grenade bounced through the doorway, frag, not flash. Cypher kicked it back into the corridor. The blast rocked the walls, screams followed. Zen glanced at him. You still fight like you never left the field. Cypher reloaded without looking. I never did. Fight surged into the atrium, open space, high ceiling, shattered skylights letting in wind and snow. Restoration pushed hard, 2 squads converging. One with a heavy machine gun on a tripod. Bullets chewed concrete, sparks flew, Spectre took a round to the plate, chest armor held, but the impact knocked him back. He rolled, came up firing. Suppressing, Oracle screamed over comms. Incoming hello 2 minutes out, armed. They're bringing the hammer. Zen's mind raced, options narrowing. They could exfil now, scatter, go dark again. But restoration would rebuild. The fracture would widen. The promise would die in pieces. He looked at Cypher. Cypher met his eyes, understanding without words. Together, Cypher said. Zen nodded once. Fall back to the module roof. We take the fight vertical. They moved, bounding, covering, dragging wounded momentum. Ghost limped, Oracle supporting him. Spectre laid down fire until his mag ran dry, then switched to sidearm. Wraith ghosted ahead, clearing the stairwell with silent takedowns. They burst onto the roof, wind howling, snow blinding. The Optimus craft waited cloaked but engines spooling. But the Hello was already visible. Black silhouette against the Aurora, door gunners visible, miniguns spinning up, Zen signaled. The team boarded, 2 craft lifting, 3 staying grounded as decoys. Optimus 1, Zen, Cypher, Spectre climbed hard, rotors tilting for forward thrust. Optimus 2, Oracle, Ghost, Wraith followed. The Hello opened fire, tracers stitching the night. Zen banked sharp, evasion pattern Bourne would have recognized. Spectre leaned out the side door, shoulder-fired EMP rocket streaking toward the Hello's rotor hub. It detonated, pulse wave frying avionics. The bird spun, nose diving toward the fjord. But more came, 2 fast movers, jets scrambled from a nearby restoration airstrip. Oracle's voice cracked over comms. Missile lock, Fox 3 inbound. Zen pushed the throttle to maximum, Mach 3 capable, but the craft wasn't designed for sustained dogfight. Cypher gripped the co-pilot seat. Use the swarm. Understood instantly. He triggered the release, Optimus 3, 4, 5 lifting autonomously from the roof, no pilots, full AI control. They formed up around the lead pair, living shields, drawing fire. Missiles slammed into decoys, explosions blooming orange against the snow. One jet broke off damaged. The other pressed, cannon fire raking the night. Spectre leaned out again. Last rocket. Direct hit on the engine nacelle. The jet spiraled, pilot ejecting in a bloom of chute silk. Silence followed, only wind and the hum of surviving engines. The two craft leveled off, heading west, low over the sea. Inside Optimus One, breathing heavy, adrenaline crashing, Spectre slumped against the bulkhead. We're clear. Patched in, voice shaking but steady. Restoration channels are dark. No pursuit vectors. They're reeling. Wraith's tone was quiet, but they'll come again, smaller, smarter. Cypher looked at Zen, long searching. You could have left me. Kept his eyes forward. The promise isn't conditional. Cypher exhaled, something like relief. Then it lives. Glanced back at the team, wounded, exhausted, alive. We don't disband, he said. We evolve, no central command, no permanent structure, cells, choices, restraint. Nodded slowly. Smaller cuts, deeper impact. Oracle smiled faintly. Distributed, unkillable. Ghost, pale but grinning, raised a weak fist. Hydra. Wraith met Zen's eyes in the reflection of the canopy. And when it's done, Zen stared at the dark horizon, first light touching the edge of the world. When the levers stop needing to be pulled, we fade. But until then, he looked at each of them. We fly. The two craft banked south, silent wings carrying the last remnants of the promise into uncertain dawn. Restoration would rebuild. The world would keep turning. But the Raven had learned something new. It didn't need to be seen to cast a shadow. It only needed to endure. Somewhere, in hidden bays and quiet mines, new wings were already being forged. The protocol lived, not as a weapon. As a reminder, the Raven. Shadow Protocol Chapter 20, Epilogue. Wings in shadow. 3 years later, somewhere in the high desert of New Mexico, 2029, the wind moved low across the mesa, carrying the scent of sage and distant rain. A single black EVTOL, smaller than the old Optimus series, sleeker, almost delicate, settled silently onto a natural landing pad ringed by Joshua trees. No markings, no lights, only the faint whine of electric rotors fatting to nothing. A woman stepped out first, mid-30s, dark hair pulled back, eyes scanning the horizon with the calm of someone who had once stared down worse nights. She wore civilian clothes now, jeans, lightweight jacket, no visible weapons. But the way she moved, balanced, alert, still carried the ghost of the suit. She was called Raven now. Not the Raven, just Raven. One of many. Behind her came 2 others, a young man with quick hands and quicker code, and an older woman whose gaze missed nothing. No Spectre, no. Oracle, no ghost by name. Those call signs had been retired the night in Svalbard. Identities dissolved, faces changed. The team had scattered like seeds on wind, cells that rarely spoke, never all at once. The promise had evolved, no central command. No manifestos, no broadcasts, only quiet corrections. A man waited at the edge of the mesa, tall, silver-haired now, coat open against the chill. Cypher looked older but not diminished. He had chosen exile after Svalbard, not punishment, but choice. He lived quietly in places that didn't ask questions, surfacing only when a cell needed guidance that no algorithm could provide. He nodded once as they approached. You're early. Raven smiled faintly. Old habits. They walked together to a low stone bench overlooking the valley. Below, lights of a small town flickered, ordinary lives, untouched by the shadow that still moved among them. Cypher spoke first. The banker in Singapore. Resigned yesterday. Health reasons. Her tone held no triumph, only fact. The IMF advisor in Nairobi. Same, quietly. The files never saw daylight. Cypher exhaled, something between relief and weariness. And the restoration remnant in Dubai. Raven's eyes stayed on the horizon, disbanded. Their funding dried up after the last leak. No violence, just exposure. He studied her for a long moment. You kept the restraint. We kept the promise, she corrected softly. More than necessary, no less. Settled, comfortable, earned. Cypher finally asked the question that had waited 3 years. Do you ever wonder if we should have stopped? Raven looked at him, really looked. Every day. But then I see the numbers. Infant mortality down in regions where the old debt traps were broken. Regulatory capture cases spiking because the levers got pulled. Whistleblowers protected because someone reminded the powerful that shadows can watch back. She paused. We didn't fix the world. We reminded it that it could still be fixed. Cypher nodded slowly. And when it doesn't need reminding anymore, Raven's gaze drifted to the stars beginning to prick the twilight. Then the wings fold. We become civilians again. Teachers, doctors, coders, parents. Ordinary people who once carried something extraordinary and put it down when the time came. A soft laugh from Cypher rare genuine. You always were the best of them. She shook her head. No, we were all the best, together. They sat in silence as the last light bled from the sky somewhere far away, perhaps in a quiet apartment in Lisbon, perhaps on a fishing boat off Tasmania. Other ravens felt the same quiet pull. A notification on a secure line. A file arriving in a dead drop. A choice to answer or let it pass. Most answered. A few did not. And that was the point. The promise had never been eternal. It had always been conditional on the need, on the restraint on the people who carried it. One by one, the wings folded, not with ceremony, not with farewell. Just quietly, the world turned on, flawed, fractious, but a little less blind. And in the high desert, under a sky full of indifferent stars, two old shadows sat together until the cold drove them inside. No speeches, no last flights, only the certainty that, if the need ever returned, the promise would stir again, not as an organization, not as a legend, as a choice. And somewhere in the dark between the stars, the raven waited, patient, silent, eternal, ready if the world ever forgot again. The end.